Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the TimcastIRL podcast. I am Tim Pool, and I am joined by...
What's up, everybody? Adam Krigler here. How you doing?
And...
The Invisible Lady.
The Invisible Lydia, who doesn't have a camera, but we're here to talk to you guys about stuff and news. And we got a major breaking story. This is actually crazy. I can't believe it. I mean this seriously. Brett Baer of Fox News reporting, sources believe coronavirus originated in Wuhan lab as part of China's efforts to compete with U.S. In the story, they basically call it a cover-up. We got another story from the AP that's basically saying the same thing, that China tried to cover this up. This is crazy. Now here's, I know a lot of people already on Twitter and already in the chat are saying, we all knew this. You're right. We all did. Finally, the mainstream media is catching up to what everyone else already knew. But you know what?
Well, not for certain, but this is pretty
This
clear. This is pretty clear now.
I look, how do you confirm something? When you've got a report from South China University saying this, you've now got corroboration from multiple outlets. Even you had one guy from, this was from, we talked about this, Washington Post, saying they thought it was possible. Now Fox is saying definitively they have sources who know what's going on, who have seen the briefings, and they're government officials. But when you combine this with the AP, the Associated Press's story, I think it's fair to say we're as confirmed can get.
I agree. I mean, that's what I was saying. Looking at all the stuff that I now have read, it's like, it's pretty clear that they knew what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And they were trying to cover it up.
Totally.
Yeah.
We got a couple other stories. There's big protests across the country. People are rejecting these lockdowns. And we've also got this not as family friendly, but BuzzFeed News reported, because people can't pay rent, that some tenants are resorting to the world's oldest profession. If you know what I mean. There's always a job for someone.
I do. I still think that story is...
You don't believe it?
Nah.
Why not?
I don't know.
A landlord says, give me the money, and then there's like some young tenant, and she's like, I can't. And he's like, there are other ways you can pay.
Isn't this how all the plot lines start?
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible.
I think it's legit. But I mean, look, it's BuzzFeed, so it's as trustworthy as BuzzFeed can be. So whatever.
Maybe that's my caution.
But all right, so we're going to jump into this first story. Before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit that like button. Share this podcast if you really do like it, because that's basically how we grow. We don't have big marketing budgets or anything like that. If we're good enough for you to share us, then that's what helps us out. Otherwise, if you think we suck, then by all means don't share us, because we're awful, and no one should have to listen to what we have to say. But no, we're awesome. I think so. So why don't you hop in the super chat? And if you do, we will then read your comments to the best of our ability. Often we get a ton of people, and so we can't get to everybody, but we will often try to read as many as we can. We actually usually dedicate like a half an hour to 40 minutes of just like reading through your comments. So,
and sometimes it makes like a full-on segment. Like
it's really fun.
Just, like,
I mean, typically,
start talking about it. You get Tim ranting on something.
Well, no, I mean, if somebody
it's fun.
Right?
If someone in the super chat asks a question,
and then it's good,
and then we can talk about it.
Yeah,
I mean, that fuels a big portion of the show. So make sure you hop in. But let's start with the first story. So this story from Fox News: sources believe coronavirus originated in Wuhan lab as part of China's efforts to compete with the U.S. You see that byline right there? Brett Baer. That to me is what made this legit. Brett Baer is like a straightforward news guy.
Yeah, that's what when I first said it, I was like, yeah, but it's the news. Like, how do I know I can trust it? And you were like, it's Brett Baer. And I'm like,
for real.
Oh, look, it doesn't mean anything to me though. So, I mean, for those out there, clearly Tim believes him because he's like a straight shooter.
He's boring.
Yes.
To the point he's boring. Yeah. Right.
And that's not an insult. That's respect.
Yeah, that's the kind of news anchor that we need right now. Not trying to spin something, not trying to lie to anybody. Just here's the truth. These are the facts.
Look,
that's the news.
I don't know a whole lot about Brett, and I'm wondering if do I got this guy wrong? Is he really like some crazy opinionated guy? But the reason I don't think too much about him is because whenever I watch him, he's just basically reading the news. There's nothing and so it's like out of sight, out of mind almost.
Okay.
And so I've seen other people praising him, even on the left. And he's not one of these primetime, opinion pundits.
Okay.
He's like a regular news guy, very dry, very straightforward. He's reporting this. This means it is bigger than it's bigger than the other reporting.
I didn't think these they existed still.
Straight news guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where-
no, because they're all becoming so desperate.
Yep.
No, but you've got like Bill Hemmer, I think is his name. You've got a handful of straightforward news people over at Fox.
Yeah, so they're out there.
Yeah, and there have been, as much as the left likes to rag on Fox, you've got these professors, these liberal journalism professors, praising daytime Fox News for being kind of boring, just like straightforward. But anyway, Brett reports this. He says, exclusive, COVID-19 originated in a Wuhan laboratory, not as a bioweapon, but as part of China's efforts to demonstrate that its efforts to identify and combat viruses are equal to or greater than the capabilities of the U.S. Multiple sources who have been briefed on the details of early actions by China's government and seen relevant materials tell Fox News. This may be the, quote, costliest government cover-up of all time, one of the sources said. The sources believe the initial transmission of the virus was bat to human, and that patient zero worked at the laboratory, then went into the population in Wuhan. Now, let's address the anonymous sourcing thing, which I'm not a big fan of.
Same here.
When you see these stories, you always got to look at the byline. That's where you're trying to derive your trust from. You see the New York Times do this all the time, saying an unnamed source. My favorite line, I think this was the New York Times. They said, according to sources familiar with Trump's thinking. Like,
Seriously?
that's a real line.
Oh,
Seriously,
my
like,
goodness.
what?
That's embarrassing.
They can read his mind. Brett Baer, on the other hand, though, is a straightforward news guy who's been praised by many people and many partisans on both sides. And this is who you can trust. If he's saying he's seen these documents and he thinks this is of merit, then I'm inclined to believe it. There's a lot of people that could have come out and said this, and I'd roll my eyes. But Brett Baer, he's got 1.4 million Twitter followers. He is a very high profile, straightforward news guy. I don't know what else to tell you, man. We ultimately choose to trust reporters. This is a major mainstream news organization telling us this.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
Asked by Fox News' John Roberts about the reporting, President Trump remarked at Wednesday's coronavirus press briefing, more and more we're hearing the story. We are doing a very thorough examination of this horrible situation. Documents detail early efforts by doctors at the lab and early efforts at containment. The Wuhan wet market, initially identified as a possible point of origin, never sold bats. And the sources tell Fox News that blaming the wet market was an effort by China to deflect blame from the laboratory, along with the country's propaganda efforts targeting the U.S. and Italy.
Makes sense. That's why they were so quick to ban the consumption of wild animals, because they wanted to solidify that story.
Was that quick, though?
It was.
Right away?
Within a month. I mean, for them to do that at all says a lot. So even that they did it, all I'm seeing now is they're just trying to solidify this deflection.
Make it the story.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Well, so now we're blaming the wild animals, so we won't eat wild animals anymore.
That doesn't even matter. Check out this story from the AP. What Fox has reported is, in a sense, corroborating other reporting from the Associated Press. China didn't warn public of likely pandemic for 6 key days. Check this out.
6 days.
President Xi Jinping warned the public on the 7th day, January 20th. But by that time, more than 3,000 people had been infected during almost a week of public silence, according to internal documents obtained by the Associated Press and expert estimates based on retrospective infection data. 6 days. That delay from January 14th to January 20th was neither the first mistake made by Chinese officials at all levels in confronting the outbreak, nor the longest lag, as governments around the world have dragged their feet for weeks and even months in addressing this virus. But take a look at that date. The delay was from January 14th. On the 14th, they knew. And do you know what the World Health Organization did on the 14th?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the tweet.
It's the tweet.
6:18 a.m. Eastern time. So what time was it over in China? 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're 12 hours.
Yep.
Here's what it says. Preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus identified in Wuhan. Sounds to me like the World Health Organization was purposefully misleading us, or at the very least useful idiots for the Chinese government,
Yep.
who knew, according to the Associated Press, and withheld the information. But then why would the World Health Organization say this to us?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Why?
then think about it. Is the World Health Organization lying to us? They said China told them this, right?
That's what they said, yeah.
All right, well, on the 14th, China knew there was human-to-human transmission. Did China lie to the World Health Organization, or did they know the truth, and then and who then lied to the rest of us? Somebody lied.
I bet they lied to the WHO, who then just believed it. They're like, oh, yeah, their scientists said it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
possible.
the optimism in me. Like, I want to believe them, but I don't know, because I So I have a hard time trusting anything right now until seeing that, like, the actual proof.
This is crazy because let me read this here. It says U.S. embassy officials warned in January 2018 about inadequate safety at the Wuhan Institute of Virology lab and passed on information about scientists conducting risky research on coronavirus from bats, the Washington Post reported Tuesday. This is all now being corroborated. I think it's funny that we all knew this.
Yep.
And I'm gonna give a nice hard shout out to people over at YouTube who are too dumb to let the people who do a good job on your platform report the news. Because as you guys may have heard from the rest of us, whenever we try and report on this, we get suppressed, we get deranked or demonetized.
Yep.
Welcome to how YouTube functions. Now, months after the fact, when we were doing reporting saying, hey, this looks like it may be possible, we're now seeing mainstream confirmation of what most of us already knew.
You called that.
It's incredible. Well, I mean, I was skeptical. And even Senator Tom Cotton was like, we got to entertain the possibility. You know, this is a thing they're doing. We even had that story from Nature. Let me see if I have this. If I have this pulled up. Here we go. Nature.com. Inside the Chinese lab poised to study the world's most dangerous pathogens from the 23rd of February, 2017. Maximum Security Biolab is part of a plan to build network BSL-4 facilities across China. And this is a laboratory in Wuhan.
Of course.
And you know what's the funniest thing about these people? Nature.com went back in January, I guess, and they editorialized the article. Editor's note, January 2020. Many stories have promoted an unverified theory that the Wuhan lab discussed in this article played a role in the coronavirus outbreak that began in December 2019. Nature knows of no evidence this is true. Scientists believe the most likely source of the coronavirus to be an animal market. Why would they add that? For no reason.
And was it what scientists? Chinese scientists?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what the WHO said that they got their information from.
Why go back to 2017 and edit this article? The information was sound, correct?
Yeah.
Then why change the source? If we
Right.
have information that could provide context, going back and changing it is suspect.
That looks so
Indeed.
shady.
I totally agree.
And you know, it's really funny too. The New York Times and CNN will like stealth edit articles. That's when they don't let you know they changed things.
Okay.
But here we get this editor's note. We just want to let you know.
January 2020.
CNN just got
Like
busted.
what day in January too? Because
Yeah.
January was a crazy month.
End of the month, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
CNN got busted writing Chinese propaganda as news.
Yeah, you mean ZNN?
CNN. Yeah, GNN.
I
That's
like
what-
that.
That's the
GNN.
thing going around. It's pretty funny.
I love it.
Check this out. Responding to the report, General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said Tuesday afternoon, it should be no surprise to you that we have taken a keen interest in that, and we've had a lot of intelligence take a hard look at that. I would just say at this point, it's inconclusive, although the weight of evidence seems to indicate natural, but we don't know for certain. Americans were originally helping train the Chinese in a program called Prevent, well before the Chinese started working on this virus. The French government helped the Chinese set up the Wuhan lab. China, quote, 100% suppressed data and changed data, the sources tell Fox News. Samples were destroyed, contaminated areas scrubbed, some early reports erased, and academic articles stifled. There were doctors and journalists who were disappeared, warning of the spread of the virus and its contagious nature and human-human transmission. China moved quickly to shut down travel domestically from Wuhan to the rest of China, but did not stop international flights from Wuhan. Additionally, the source tells Fox News the World Health Organization was complicit from the beginning, helping China cover its tracks. Trump announced the White House coronavirus news briefing in the Rose Garden on Tuesday that the United States will immediately halt all funding for the WHO, saying it had put political correctness over life-saving measures. The United States is the WHO's largest single donor, and the State Department had previously planned to provide the agency $893 million in the current 2-year funding period. Senior
Wow.
administrations separately tell Fox News the rollout of the president's blueprint for reopening the U.S. economy will happen Thursday afternoon, first for governors, and then briefed to the press. They say, meanwhile, Trump's own handling of the crisis has come into focus. On January 24th, for example, Trump tweeted in praise of China's transparency on coronavirus. Though they were not speaking for the president, the sources ventured an explanation, saying it was diplomatic to make the Chinese feel good while the investigation was ongoing, with trade and other talks happening simultaneously. In the 6 days after top Chinese officials secretly determined they were likely facing a pandemic from a new coronavirus, the city of Wuhan, at the epicenter of the disease, hosted a mass banquet for tens of thousands of people. Millions began traveling through for Lunar New Year celebration.
Oh, man.
They knew they had to have expected what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or wanted it to happen.
The fact that they shut down traveling from Wuhan to anywhere else in China and then let anyone in Wuhan, oh, you're leaving China? Okay, we don't care.
Yeah.
That's
International flights, go for
like,
it.
are you kidding me? It's like
And now
it's like it got out and they were like, "Oh, it wasn't supposed to get out on our territory." Well, let's contain it as much as possible and hope it hurts them more than it hurts us.
exploiting it.
That's what it feels like.
That's why it's kind of crazy to me that they're saying it was an accident. Because, like, you put out all these stories, man.
Yeah.
Saying that they were withholding information, which hurt us and
Right.
caused massive damage.
Yep.
That, BuzzFeed News reported that Chinese trolls were trying to slow down the response in Italy and Taiwan. That's an act of aggression.
Yeah.
Why? So it's weird to me for me to assume that, like, some dude slips on a banana peel. This accident results in this major pandemic, and then there's like, let's roll with it. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's like you're saying that everything they're doing to hurt us in this was like just fortuitous for them.
I mean, it's basically moves of war. They're moving the chess pieces, and we're just trying to, we're not even realizing we're playing this game right now.
Well, I think our military does.
I absolutely agree. That's why they came down on that the naval guy.
Yeah.
For making us look
so
weak.
what's truly fascinating about this story is that numerous mainstream outlets have slowly been walking towards this theory for a long time. I mean, I talked about this months ago.
Yeah.
Because we had a report that a researcher said, here's what we think happened. China suppressed the study. Now we have more mainstream reporting. But look, it's April 3rd, the trail leading back to the Wuhan labs. And they also did the same thing, like, we can't prove it. But here's more evidence.
Yep.
I think at a certain point, it's really fascinating to me how the media handles these things, because it's like a dam breaking almost.
Okay.
You can see on the other side all of these bits of evidence piling up. You get to a point where a reasonable person says, I think I know what happened, but the media won't say it until finally they have a smoking gun. All of a sudden, then it's mainstream. Boom. Just one day. So now I see people on Twitter are going nuts with this. But here's what's really freaky. Jennifer Zhang is a YouTuber. I'm not super familiar with who she is, but she's been tweeting a lot about what's going on. She tweeted this image, and she writes, presumably a translation, urgent notice, all county, town, and village departments. All government departments in all towns and villages must continue to implement the level 1 response measures. Resume all previous disease prevent and control measures and make sure nothing goes wrong. When leaders from province come to make unannounced inspections this week, implement all control measures at all communities, especially old communities, for densely populated places such as hotels, markets, liquor stores, and parks. Resume temperature taking and registering mainly. And then there's April 13th. She says, mainly applied to people from other places, Hubei and Wuhan. In the meantime, take control measures in villages according to local situations. All the above measures must be implemented within 1 hour. Xingtai County, what does it say, of Henan Province, Coronavirus Pneumonia Control Office. I'm sorry, she said sorry, should be Hubei Province. So Hebei Province. Apparently, she tweeted this out. What is this? This is yesterday morning. And people are saying the gist of it, China's going into lockdown again.
Yeah.
They just started talking in the news. No new deaths, no new cases. They're leaving lockdown, back in lockdown. This is, you know what, man? I'll tell you what. There's no evidence right now to suggest this is a bioweapon, at least where we're at. Fox News is reporting that China was trying to show that they could keep up with the U.S., and they made a big mistake.
Yep.
So even now, the government actors, the general, whatever, haven't confirmed that.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, man. Could you ask for a more perfect biological agent for this country?
Nope.
You could not.
No, that's exactly.
So again, I want
what
to
they
clarify. I am in no way suggesting. I am saying this is extremely fortuitous in every way for them, and it makes me suspect.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this investigated, because now we know there's a cover-up that's being reported by multiple outlets. But here's what I was thinking. If this virus was like Ebola level, it'd be shut down in 2 seconds. You do it. You if you wanted something to be truly effective at hurting people, you'd want an airborne virus. You'd want a two-week incubation period, and you'd want a decently low mortality rate, enough to cripple the country in panic and fear, to shut down naval vessels and weaken your enemy.
Yeah, but at the same time, they admit they want to be better than us. They want to prove that they can handle things better than Americans can. So this, if it did get out, and there was Americans that were like, they have this lab that we should be worried about, and they're like, no, we can do this, we can handle it, and then it gets out. And they're like, oh, man, don't tell anybody that it got out. Like, let's try to, put a cap on this. And then it blows up, and now it's a worldwide pandemic. I can see the argument that they just fumbled this in the worst way possible, and that it might not be any sort of act of war.
No, right. I actually think the Fox News story makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not surprised by it. I'm surprised it's Brett Baer reporting it, because I didn't think we'd get hard confirmation like this.
Yeah.
But what you just said, I really don't think they would try to cripple their own economy.
Exactly.
I do think they're bumbling morons who slipped on a banana peel and dropped a glass vial and went, oh no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then it got out.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It makes way more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much, some people have tried to say that because of the trade war and because, China's economy has been seriously hurting, that this was their act of aggression. I don't know. I
think it would have been way worse.
I don't.
I think it would have been worse if it was really them trying to hurt us.
How could it be worse?
I mean, we have those reports from the Department of Justice that they've been smuggling in SARS virus to America. So if it originated in Wuhan, we have all these, the travel logs of like how it spread from Wuhan, and it's very clear from there. If they wanted to really hurt us, they would have dropped it in New York City,
Kansas,
wherever,
yep,
in the middle of the country, so that it spread from here. And then it really didn't do that.
You're right. That's a good point, because they've tried claiming that it originated in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what one of the Chinese officials has said. I think
that doesn't make any sense.
Of course,
right.
If China really wanted to win, they would have made it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so for those that didn't see that story either, Yahoo News and other outlets have reported that over the past several years, Chinese scientists were illicitly bringing in viruses.
Yes, some people got caught with it and lied about it until they were like, well, what's this vial? Oh, well, now that you found that vial, actually, it's this, it's the SARS virus. And it's like, what?
I think we got ourselves a case of Three Stooges syndrome.
Yeah, maybe.
It's China going whoop, 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 slipping and then shattering the vial and then going, for real, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not surprising that what Fox News is reporting. I think most of us expected this.
Yeah.
But I want to entertain another possibility, or maybe not a possibility, but I want to highlight this article. China is harvesting organs. I pulled this up just because I want to show you that these people are like their culture, their government, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with a group of people that are harvesting organs.
Yep.
So I got to wonder what they're doing, and I also got to wonder why I should trust them. But again, I do think Fox News' reporting really does make the most sense. They're bumbling morons.
Yeah.
As much as I think they would intentionally do really, really messed up stuff, I think more so there's this common problem we see with communism. Chernobyl. They get an idea, they rush forward, and then just like it's like it almost reminds me of someone doing a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
And they find a piece that looks like it could fit. It doesn't. So they just start pounding on the table. That's how I kind of describe how these communist countries try and implement these ideas.
Yeah.
Like Chernobyl, it's like you can see it's a nuclear reactor. We kind of understand how it'll work, and then it blows up and sprays radioactive, carbon or whatever into the atmosphere. Or like China being like, we're going to make a biolab, and then they just start slamming on the table to make it fit, and then boom, breach. Like they're nasty what they're doing with people, China forcefully harvesting organs.
It's messed up.
I wonder though, man.
It's really messed up.
What do we do if this story is true?
I mean, what do you mean if? Do we not know for certain that they're doing this?
Okay, so what do we do now that we know the story is true?
So it's officially true now? It's like, it's not that I
didn't
believe it, because there's been some sources. But
what more could we have to confirm this? Yeah, no. That's the challenge, right? So I know YouTube's already gonna smack us in the face for even talking about it. They're going to derank. This segment will be demonetized 100%. They're going to say, how dare you say it? Yeah, well, you got multiple. That's the Washington Post. You got a professor from Rutgers. You got Fox News, Brett Baer. They're all saying it.
Yep.
What else do we need to say this is confirmed? Because I'll tell you what, I know there's going to be a lot of people reluctant to say it is. Even part of me, I'm like, oh, man, Do we say it? But here's the thing. A university in China released a paper saying they were experimenting on bats. Some guy got bit. Some guy got peed on.
Yep.
And he had to quarantine himself. They think that was the probable source. You then had the Washington Post saying we need to talk about this. The National Review, conservative paper, saying let's talk about this, all roads leading back to the lab. And now Brett Baer saying sources familiar with the reactions are saying this. And the AP coming out saying China withheld the information and the World Health Organization lied to us. What more does anyone need to say? Boom. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And it's not to say whether it was malicious or not, because that it's irrelevant for this
No.
all to seem it is true.
No, it was malicious.
Well, that's not what they're saying.
It absolutely
They're
is.
saying it originated from Wuhan.
No.
No. Them lying for 6 days, yes, that's malicious, for sure, absolutely.
Right.
But was it?
You
was
mean
them,
intentional spread?
Right. Was that them bumbling and going, "What do we do for 6 days?" And
Good point.
or was it like them going, "All right, let's let the rest of the world brew on it"?
I actually agree.
Yeah.
You make a good point. I think the 6 days of doing nothing was Three Stooges syndrome.
Yeah, I think
They were running around in circles, bopping each other on that, going,
Someone give me an answer. Someone give me an answer right now. 6 days later. All right, let's just tell the world.
Yeah.
They're probably just too stupid to they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't about an answer. It was like Xi Jinping is going like, you over there, give me a report. And then he like runs over and slams into like a low-hanging tree branch or something and falls down.
Yeah.
And then the other one, and he's like, it's just bumbling around like morons.
See it.
They have malintent, like I mentioned, with those camps they're doing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think even if they were bumbling around like stooges, which it really does seem like they were, at least that's what the evidence, suggests now, they could have told us.
Exactly.
But that's, you know what? I got to be fair. It being a moron, I think you would be predisposed to not ask for help. You know what I mean? Like they think they're all tough.
Their whole thing is to try to be better than us or better than everyone. You know, it's like, so they're trying to save face as much as possible, and now it's crumbling. And what's worse is it's crumbling in their citizens are starting to get upset.
Yeah.
Their citizens are starting to like group up and band together because they're sick of this also. Which leads to our next segment. So I don't want to talk about that, but
my
interesting stuff.
My question then is, we've got all this reporting stacked up. We are now operating under the assumption this is true. Yeah. They knew, they lied, the World Health Organization lied, that this may have, according to Fox News, was a breach, an accidental breach. What do we do? Some people on Twitter have said, wipe all of the U.S. debt to China. That's it. Boom. I don't owe you anymore, bro. You caused this problem. You cost me money. I'm not paying you back.
I mean, see, that's where we get into a big hearty reminder that they make all of our medicine still. They make everything still for us. We rely on them. People are talking about old people dying. It's like, okay, cut China off, and then all of those people that need their blood thinner medicine or insulin. I mean, I could go on, it all comes from China.
Vitamin C.
Everything comes from China right now. So it's like, we can't do that.
You know what's crazy? The Obama administration wanted more U.S. jobs to go to China.
Really?
More. The idea was that it would force China to, it would force our economies to intertwine, and that would prevent China from overtaking us. That was their idea.
Okay.
So send more American jobs over to China. That was called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Yeah. Trump shut it down on day one, right?
Really early.
The first thing he does. Wasn't really, but actually it might have been.
Well, that had been bothering him. I think that troubled him the most when he got elected.
But Bernie said the same thing. The TPP, it would have sent hundreds of thousands of jobs over to China.
Yeah, we need those jobs.
So the idea they had, the way they explained it is, it would make them dependent upon us for these jobs.
And a lot of people have tweeted at me, because we've talked about this before, and they say, it wouldn't work because America has a minimum wage, and then you couldn't make products as cheap. And it's like, what the problem with this is? People buy cheap things and they break, and then they go buy more because there's more. Let's go back to making quality stuff that is more expensive, but it lasts forever. You can fix it.
This is the craziest thing. Wealth inequality, all these lefties are complaining about, it's driven by open borders. That's why I don't understand. It's an impossible political situation these people have put themselves in.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll never see me supporting it. Listen, If you have a billionaire in the United States and he says, I'm going to make socks for people to put on their feet. You know why? Because Americans need things on their feet. Everybody does. So then he goes and sends all of the factories to China. The Americans then go to the store and say, 1 pair of socks, please. Pay the $10. That $10 goes to China. And then a portion of it goes to the billionaire. Or I should say it goes to the billionaire and then he gives his cut to the factories. The wealth inequality has been being driven by the fact that the American worker has been removed from the equation.
Yep.
The American worker gives their money away for the product, gets nothing in return, and the billionaires make cash and the Chinese laborers make the money.
Exactly.
It's driving wealth inequality. So this is why Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump had very similar policies. It was very populist, nationalist, pro-America. Bernie made the mistake of chasing after these people who don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think I saw this tweet. It was like Cardi B was doing an interview with Bernie Sanders. Had said something like,
I saw that.
She said
I
that
didn't watch it, but
open borders is capitalist. I saw that tweet. I don't know if it's true, but it is. Even Bernie Sanders said this back in 2015. Open borders is a Koch brothers proposal, right-wing proposal for cheap labor.
Yeah. You want to bring factories back to America? Well, we're going to need cheap labor so we can still make the profit that we've been used to.
And that's why they want illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
Man.
It's like, stop worrying about product and let's make America strong and bring that middle ground back to the American citizens.
This is why I think it's interesting they talk about the disappearing middle class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've sent it overseas.
Exactly.
It's crazy. But what's really fascinating is that you can have in 2016 a Donald Trump and a Bernie Sanders saying the same things. You know that there's leaked audio of Donald Trump back in the day saying like Bernie is the one I'm really worried about because he's a trade guy and trade's my thing. Yeah. So I think the reason why the Democratic establishment really, really hates Bernie is that as much as he flip-flopped and started bending the knee to them, he does represent an end of this international, what they call it, like the neoliberal economic order or whatever, something like that, where it's like, we're going to keep expanding free trade, send more jobs overseas. That's an extraction of our economy. And eventually it collapses. You end up with exactly what we're seeing now. You know, Silicon Valley being a really great example. Silicon Valley is all these billionaires. Meanwhile, down at the first floor, human waste all over the streets, homelessness, drug abuse. You know, even the police who are working in San Fran can't afford to live there.
Yep.
And you know where the labor is done for these tech firms?
No, I don't.
It's Eastern Europe.
Of course.
And because it's cheap. It's really cheap and easy to do.
Profit and greed.
Well, it's interesting. It's capitalist. It's not left wing. I don't understand why these dude, remember we were saying yesterday when I said people on the left, not being on the left doesn't mean you have you're mentally deficient.
Right.
But people who are mentally deficient will be attracted to the left.
Right.
That's kind of like the far left, I mean. And I think it's because they give you pie in the sky solutions. They tell you that they're going to give you rainbows and candy canes. And then people think, I want that. Whereas a mature adult is going to say, I don't believe you. You know, that's too good to be true.
Right.
So what
do you really want?
Well, what you end up getting are, you know, the Democratic Socialists of America voted it was like in September, I think, for open borders. How did you convince all of these lefties who are supposed to be fighting for labor to support one of the most capitalistic, systems ever?
Yeah, trying to protect labor. That's going to ruin labor.
Totally.
In America.
Yep. Factory's gone. But you know what it is?
No, it's not gone. Your jobs are gone.
You're right.
They go to the people that aren't registered, then they can pay dirt cheap.
Have you seen that video from the DSA meeting where the guy stands up and he's like, point of personal privilege. My name's, John Smith, he, him. Can I just let everybody know that, the chatter is really giving me anxiety. So can we keep the chatter to a minimum? And then he's like, guys, please. And then all of a sudden someone starts huffing and puffing, gets up and goes, do not use gendered language. You've not seen this?
No.
Oh, man. Well, you've seen it.
I have.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have seen it.
Unfortunately.
But the reason I bring this up, and if you haven't seen it, seriously, look up the viral video from the Democratic Socialists. You look at how these people behave. And I think it's fair to say they're not all there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying this to get an emotional reaction out of somebody, but they're clearly not with it.
Yeah.
What do you think then happens if you go to them and say, we should have no borders, right? They're going to be like, yes. And then you're simultaneously going to say, but we're working for the labor unions, right? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Get people who are too dumb to recognize their contradictory ideas.
Yeah.
So this is what I don't get about Bernie Sanders.
Or know what any of it means.
Right.
Right.
But they'll stand up and say, you know, John Smith, he, him, his. It's like, thanks, I guess. Whatever.
Sure, we'll keep the chatter down.
But it's really, yeah. But then they don't. This is really funny. They don't keep it down.
Yeah.
And then there's another clip where he gets up and he starts yelling again.
Same
I
dude.
already said, keep the chatter to the minimum. It is triggering to my anxiety. Yeah, they're like it's like toddlers in adult
Yeah.
bodies.
Yep. I see it all over the place.
So now we have, but basically an end to these policies. This is the craziest thing to me. I don't understand why there are so many conservatives trying to downplay what's going on or act like it's not happening. It's like Trump is getting what he wants.
Yep.
It's like there was a new report that came out saying factories are coming back.
Yeah.
That's it. Boom.
Good.
It's like a guillotine dropped and just sliced it in half. Got to
Yeah.
come back.
All these people in the chats were like, "Is Adam talking MAGA right now?"
Maybe
And-
not.
I mean, jeez, I was.
A little bit,
Dude,
yeah.
I mean, there is something to be said about them having all of the factories. All of our medicine is made over there. If
I
it
don't-
was made here, we would be stronger, wouldn't we?
This is
100%.
We
Yeah.
would. It's a simple truth.
This is the weird politics that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders, I was a big fan of him back in like 2015 and 16. You know why? You know what Bernie Sanders was saying? We need border security.
Yep.
We need to fight for the working class. He was talking about national populist positions that spoke to a lot of Americans.
Yep.
And I'm like, his guy's right. He was asked about Second Amendment, urban versus rural debate. And I was like, wow,
Yep.
that's legit, man. That's it. I've seen it. And then all of a sudden he starts getting closer and closer. And what does he do? I don't know, man. That $1 million looks pretty good. That fourth house, that looks pretty good.
He's only got 3. I'm just kidding. I don't
Does he
know.
only have 3?
Say no,
He does
I
only
He's
have
guess.
got
three.
I
3
don't know.
houses. Only 3. Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, that dude flipped so quick.
Oh, geez.
And now that's like the big thing right now, that like the true progressives are like, no, Bernie, we're not going to get behind you.
Yep.
But that's what's crazy. A lot of people don't seem to get it. I disagreed a lot with Bernie's policies on like, he put out something that said that they were going to pay for college by putting a tax on speculation on Wall Street. And so I remember I was hanging out by 30 Rock, and there were some progressives. They were talking about it, and they said that they supported him because he was going to, free college and all that. And I was like, yeah, but how do you pay for that?
Yeah.
Like, because you got to realize, if you promise free college, then you've now got basically every single person eligible to go, which means the schools will fill up and then no one can go.
Right.
You need more schools. All right. You need bigger schools. You need more professors. That's a lot of money you can't predict.
Right.
But let's say you do say it costs 75 trillion or some ridiculous number. Where does it come from? And this progressive guy was like, we're going to tax Wall Street. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
what do you tax? Like,
And does he even know what that means?
he did not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I asked him.
It's such a fluff piece. Like
It means nothing. I was like, what do you mean by like taxing Wall Street? And he was like, like stocks and stuff. Like they make all that money. And I was like, do you know what most of those stocks are and like where that money goes? It's like people's 401ks and stuff. It's not like,
Yeah.
they're day traders, they're speculation. But most of what you see in like Wall Street trading is like pensions or something. I don't know. I don't know how it works. And I was like, but it's not like you're assuming there's some like rich dude in like a pinstripe suit smoking a cigar making $1 million.
yeah, see?
Yeah, that's all.
We're writing on the wall.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That was commissions and stuff.
Right.
And then these progressives started getting mad, saying like, "What do you mean? Like you don't know it's Wall Street, man? They're making all this money." And I was like, "Dude, do you even understand how trade volume works?
No.
Like if you put
They don't.
yeah, if you put a tax on a product, you increase the cost of the transaction. People might not make the transaction. You might not make any money at all. So look, anyway, the point is there are things about Bernie Sanders I completely disagreed with, but there are a lot of points he made, and that's why so many people switched from Bernie to Trump. That's why they're probably going to do it again.
Yep.
Although now Bernie has tried to adopt, like, dude, a year ago, he was saying, what was he saying? Like, there's too many poor people in the world. We can't have open borders. Where does he go in the last debate last month? Decriminalize, decriminalize the border crossings, amnesty, jobs. It's like you have completely abandoned everything.
Desperation.
Yeah, it's got to be.
This is what bugs me out, because it's like I was saying about the DSA and all that. Their positions are completely contradictory. Bernie did an interview with the New York Times, and they said, in 2015, you said illegal immigration reduces low-skill wages. And he was like, yes, it absolutely does. And they're like, so you admit it. And then all of a sudden, he got flack from the left again. They were like, no, Bernie, you're wrong. It doesn't. It does. We know it does. This is what people need to realize about Bernie Sanders. He's not consistent.
Yep.
It's not like a lot of people do that meme, no refunds.
He's supposed to be the consistent one, right? The one who's
Yeah.
been speaking the same thing for
You know who's
for a
consistent.
long time
Yeah.
until he got the major platform that he now has.
Sold a book.
And now he's changed.
He no longer says the millionaires. Now he just says the billionaires.
Yeah.
Because he's in the club. He's
Yep.
in the club. It's a big club. You ain't in it. Trump's been pretty consistent. I mean, I got to admit, Trump says stupid things a lot. Like the most recent thing he said about having absolute power. Nah, there's no excuse for that. Or
Yeah.
like, I can reopen the states. Like, nah, you can't, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But look, the media screeches in his face all day, every day. And it's like, I get it, man. I get it. Okay. All right. If people are going to vote for the guy, they're going to vote for the guy. What bothers me is people coming out and acting like Bernie Sanders isn't in a similar position with his lying and his flip-flopping. They're like, he's consistent. I'm like, no, he's not. Nobody says it. But Trump's been talking about China and all this stuff for a really long time. His position's been pretty straightforward.
Yep.
But the main point I wanted to bring up is people are saying you're talking MAGA. I'm like, no, I mean, yes, technically, but Trump is a moderate.
Yeah.
And even Vox, I'm quoting Vox here, the left-wing progressive site. So he runs and says, I want to do these basic things the Democrats used to campaign on. I think what happened was Trump comes out as a Republican, but offers up a moderate Democrat kind of position without the elitism in the ivory tower kind of behaviors. You end up with a guy who's saying, secure our borders, America first, repair our economy, bring back our jobs, protect the unions. And I'm like, that sounds like a union worker, like their positions on how the government should be run.
Or like a Democrat from the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, but even then, you still have the elitists, ivory tower Democrats.
True.
Like you look at these union guys. When the guy who confronted Biden on the AR-15, like that, these are union Democrat dudes.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Why do you want to take away my right to bear arms or whatever?"
Yeah.
And Donald Trump says, "I won't." And all of a sudden, you end up with a moderate guy. Trump was pretty. I don't know what the right way to describe it is, but pretty, let's say, fierce on key issues.
Yeah, he
Like
was.
one of the things that I think was the stupidest thing he ever said was that Donald Trump was calling for a complete and total ban on Muslims entering the country or whatever. It's like a statement from his campaign.
Yeah, I remember
I went
that.
back and I watched it. He said some things that were absolutely worthy of criticism, but I think what happened was if you come out, if you're Donald Trump and you make yourself the villain, but then say something like, I want to secure the border. The Democrats then had no choice but to reject anything he ever proposed, which makes them seem insane. It's almost like, Bizarro Superman?
Yeah.
Like, so there's Superman and he's all like,
evil Superman.
he's not evil.
Oh,
So
okay.
regular Superman is all like charming and chiseled and handsome.
Okay.
Bizarro is like underbite, really dumb, and he's like reverse Superman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, so he's not necessarily evil, but everything's backwards.
Okay.
So he speaks in like opposites.
Okay.
That's what the Democrats have been doing. It's like, you ever see that episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza is like, today I'm going to do everything the opposite of what I would normally do.
I have seen it, but I don't remember
It's
at all.
it's basically what the Democrats have
been
been
a long
doing.
time.
They're like, they're holding up a list of things Trump said he's for and they must oppose. So they end up being opposed to ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we
Or
somehow
things that actually do make sense.
Yeah.
That
Right.
they should be like, you know what? That's actually a good idea. Okay. We'll
So-
concede.
So is Adam talking MAGA?
No. I'm not talking MAGA. I'm talking MAG.
MAG?
M-A-G. Make America Great, period.
Well, yeah.
Or greater.
Greater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make America
Mug.
greater.
Yeah.
Mug.
I think is the best way
Mug.
to put it. Because we are great. And we could be better. Let's be better.
But the narrative from the left is that America was never great. That's literally what they say.
We're so spoiled. Whoever is saying that out there, they're spoiled. And they have no idea. And that frustrates me, man.
Yeah.
Because those
Yeah,
people
dude.
they have no idea how great America actually is. It's like
Do you
go
know-
travel the world and then come back and tell go not travel Europe, not Europe. Go to like
Morocco.
yeah, go
Egypt.
to like the
China.
places. Like I was in South Africa, right? And I landed in Cape Town, beautiful place. But then I had to travel for like an hour and a half outside. And as soon as you get outside, there's no green grass anymore. It's like the favelas of Brazil, almost
Right.
the same. It's
Shanty
like,
towns.
yeah, they have to walk for water, and it's like you have no idea how great America is.
Mm-hmm.
This place is amazing, and we can make it better.
You know what China's doing right now?
What are they doing?
McDonald's.
Yes. What is up with this now?
Tell people a little bit what you heard.
All right. Well, man, China is crazy, man. They're now basically saying black people are spreading the virus more than others, and McDonald's is now saying you're not allowed in if you're black.
Do you have any
That's
idea?
so messed up.
Do you have any idea what would happen to McDonald's if they did that in this country?
Whew.
Goodbye, McDonald's. I
Goodbye,
I
McDonald's.
haven't eaten there in forever, but
No
it's
one else
ridiculous.
would either.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat there.
Dude, that
either.
is so messed up.
Dude, if McDonald's handed out flyers banning people based on race,
Yeah.
first their stock price would drop by like 50% as soon as the news broke.
Yeah.
Everyone would sell all their stock. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they're publicly traded. I don't know, whatever.
I don't know.
Then all of a sudden, the federal government would immediately step in and issue a bunch of fines.
Yep.
They would be shut down in minutes.
McDonald's would disappear.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
would disappear.
And I mean, if they did it at a corporate,
Rightly so.
if at a corporate level they did it.
Right.
Now,
But I doubt it was at a corporate level. It was probably like, I mean.
no, it was a government level.
So the Chinese government made them all do it, right?
Dude.
So, man, the CCP virus, yo, that's it.
Yeah,
Americans, man, we got too
CCP
many
virus.
We got too many spoiled people.
Let's place the blame where it belongs.
Man, I wonder if like, how do you restore that worldliness to some of these people? It's no surprise that a lot of these people who are saying America was never great are city folk.
Yeah.
It's you know
City folk are even more spoiled.
I was thinking about this when I lived in New York. I'm like standing out front of my apartment and I'm like, there's a sidewalk under my feet.
Yep.
There's a park in front of my apartment. There's a water fountain with fresh running water. All of
amazing.
these things have always been here.
Yep. And not only that, I can have any kind of food I want to my doorstep
With an app.
in 30 minutes.
Press a button, boop.
Yep.
All of a sudden,
Most people in cities, they're
wait,
ordering out.
I got one more for you.
Go on.
Not only can I have any food delivered to my doorstep in New York City, I can press a button and get Venezuelan arepas delivered to my apartment while people in Venezuela are starving and can't even eat that food.
Yeah.
We have access to food from countries that can't even make the same food
Jeez,
themselves.
Dude, that's mind bending.
But here's the point I was making about this. I'm looking at all these things that are just there. I remember I was crossing the Williamsburg Bridge and I'm like, man, look at this massive bridge. Had to cost the equivalent of like $1 billion to make. It's just there.
Yep.
You never have to think twice about all of the back-breaking labor that went into making that. So what do you think's going to happen then? If you grow up in a city where this is your baseline,
Right.
everything's just been handed to you.
Yep.
Now compare that to going out in the middle of nowhere, maybe in the middle of Wyoming or Montana, and you're like, we're going to live here. Is there any water? Nope. Start digging.
You got to
We're
dig
going to
yourself
put
a well.
a pump. Yep.
You need to go to the store 30 miles.
Dude, I was driving through Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I had a full tank of gas. We like stopped and got gas. I was driving with my friend. We drove for hundreds of miles without seeing a gas station. I thought we were going to run out of gas. And I'm like, well, that's it.
Yep.
There's like nothing here. We're out of gas.
I guess we're
And
going to
then-
live here now.
Yep, this is life. It's nothing for hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
And then there was this little tiny shop with 2 gas pumps. And I did not even realize there was a gas station until my friend was like, look, pumps. And I was like, whoa. And sure enough, I was like able to get gas and keep going. People, it's you live in these cities and that massive infrastructure is just there.
Yep.
There's
It
there-
is.
They're standing on the shoulders of giants that they can't see.
Boom. That's it. You know, a lot of this, see, what's the problem with Make America Great Again is I wasn't alive when it was supposedly great in what he was talking about back in like, what was it, like the 30s?
Reagan
the
era or
50s,
something?
the 60s. Like, I was born in the 80s. You know, this is the life I know. And this is a good life that we have. You know, man.
You know what I think it is? I think
people.
it's just, have you actually had to work?
I mean, yeah, there was times where I had to buckle and work down.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you gone through true
Restaurant
hardship?
job.
Have you seen what it's like to not be able to survive? Have you had a loved ones, suffer and struggle and
yep. I
and you
have
had exactly.
many times.
And a lot of these people, so we see this in the data, these progressive activists tend to be college educated, making more than $100,000 a year. Yeah, and they're mostly white.
Yep.
So it's really funny that they embody exactly what they complain about, but that makes sense. Think about it. You're the super wealthy, privileged, not I shouldn't say super wealthy, but you're an upper class, privileged, young, white, low T soy boy or whatever. And you're looking around at all these wonderful things you have. And then you hear these stories about how bad things are. And you're like, I blame people like me. And the assumption they make is that every other white person must be just like them.
Right.
Instead of realizing 20 million poor people white in this country.
Right.
They assume it's, everyone must be like me. They must have the same experience as I do of doing nothing for everything. That's the other problem with college too, is that, one of the reasons I see them, they end up going to college, a lot of these people end up becoming permanent students because they don't want to take any responsibility. They're scared of it.
I know some people like that.
Totally. Yep. I know
They're
people
still
who
in
are
school.
like,
they're my age, and they went to school
Mid-30s.
right out of high school, and they're still in school.
don't got to pay back those loans as long as you're in school.
Man.
And then you know what they do? They vote for Bernie to forgive their, hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans.
Yeah.
They took all this money, lived for free, refused to do any work, and that was it. Now it's like, you pay for it. I guess it's just, I don't know what we do to solve that problem of them being spoiled.
Hard times.
Hard times.
That's the only way. I don't see.
You know,
any other solution.
Rahm Emanuel, when he got elected in Chicago, said something about basic training. And I
Right.
really do not like that idea at all for liberty,
Yeah, I don't like
liberty reasons.
mandatory anything.
Right.
Yeah, don't force me to do anything.
But I wonder if there's a better way to implement some kind of retreat or something you can do in school.
No, an ROTC class, it's one semester. You're not in boot camp, but
Yeah.
they're teaching the.
I don't like high school mandatory either.
Well, I mean, it's like I don't know, make it a part of gym class. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be told how to live my life, but at the same time, if I structured my life better, I could probably get more things done
Maybe there's
than I do. I could have a game podcast going. People are asking me to do it, but I don't really structure my life in a way that I can just do that all the time.
I don't think that's as much an issue though, like you not doing
Yeah,
running
I
a
guess
business.
I'm just bringing my own into it, but
I'm saying like these are people who think they don't recognize the wealth and privilege they have. And it's a funny thing. They like to
exactly.
say
That's my point.
they like to say that, to the privileged, equality looks like oppression. And I'm like, have you looked in a mirror, good sir? Because you're describing yourself, not me.
Right.
When you complain, they as part of their philosophy, they literally believe that a black woman who's a millionaire is oppressed and a white person who's sleeping on the street is an oppressor. It's actually a part of, like, the arguments have been made. Yeah. And it's funny because when I tried talking to some of the more rational progressives, they're like, no one really thinks that. I'm like, dude, do you even listen to the priests of your religion? They
Right.
say this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I get it. There are progressives who don't, entertain the silliness, but they ignore the rest of them that are actually pushing this stuff. They have fringe ideas that make no sense. And what's funny is, like, we talked about how as things get bad, they kind of disappear. Yeah, well, they're starting to come back because things are getting better.
Things are getting better.
We'll see how it plays out. But
You're right.
yeah, it's how do you make people not spoiled anymore? That's the big challenge. You can't. I don't believe it. I do not like any mandatory. I don't like that you have to go to high school. I don't like that you have to go to school, period. I think that's stupid. I think a one-size-fits-all government mandate for institutionalization of human beings is insane.
You got a point.
What do you do?
You got a good point.
What do you do, man?
Yeah, I mean, Lydia was just like hard times, and it's like, right, the saying is hard times make strong
Right.
men or something like
Yeah.
that.
And I
right?
wasn't thinking of like a mandatory program. I was thinking of the way we've been so privileged is going to cause hard times that we have no say in.
Right. So how do we get to the skip that?
I'd like to skip that.
Like, can we wake
Yeah.
up before it's too late?
I don't know.
And we're all in hard times, and we're realizing that America was really great.
I don't think there's anything you can do. I've been around the world, man. The more I traveled, the more I would come back proud to be an American.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I would remember, like, coming up to the checkpoint after being in some, like, really messed up place.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, one guy was, like, looking through my passport, and I got a ton of crazy stuff, like
Yeah.
Arabic and whatever. And he's like, man, what is this? He's like, what's this country? And I was like, I think that's like Morocco or Egypt or something. And he was like, you travel a lot. What for? And I was like, I'm a journalist. And he goes, how is it? And I'm like, man, I am so glad to be back in this country, dude.
Yeah, I know.
It's like these young people who complain about America all day and night, they really don't get it.
Nope.
When you get locked in a
They do
camp in
not.
China and they take your organs away, when they kick out you or your friends because of the color of their skin, when you go to these countries where they're speeding down streets, afraid to stop at streetlights because someone's going to jump out with an AK or something,
Yep.
and it's like, man, I haven't even been to the worst places in the world. I haven't been to, like, Syria or anything.
Yeah.
I did have some people try to get me to go, but even I'm like, dude, I know how bad it gets.
Yeah.
And I know people who've gone to these places. I mean, I was in Fukushima, so that's probably one of the craziest places I've ever been. and I saw the destroyed gravestones. I'll tell you what, man. I went there. The gravestones shattered. And this guy telling us, like, this was his family's, grave, and, like, it's been destroyed, and it's like the earthquake destroyed it. Going to this guy's house, the calendar left at the day of the earthquake and the tsunami. The clocks all stopped at that time. And you realize, like, everything this guy's family was, everything he ever had, everything he ever cherished and loved, wiped out in an instant.
Yep.
And he can only come back and take a glimpse of it. And I'll tell you what's even crazier. The guides we had that brought us in, one of them died of cancer.
Wow.
That's the radiation. That's how some people are what they're dealing with right now. But in America, we got poverty, we got crime, we got bad stuff.
Yeah.
But they really don't get how bad things could be.
Yeah.
Like we saw this story the other day. Rats are eating each other.
Yep.
You want to see what humans are going to do to each other when the food stops?
Nope.
You wouldn't even believe it.
Nope. Don't want to know.
I don't.
We don't want to know. You're right. But it's crazy. Why is it that there's some people like us, we get it, and we're like, we joke about how people fantasize about apocalypse, but they would never actually want it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have all these people who are like, America is an evil colonialist empire. And then they go to a farm for a few days and they're like, I want to go home.
I want to go be spoiled in the city.
Work is hard.
Very
I have
You
to
know what?
make my own food, like actually chop onions. What?
It reminds me of like the caricature of nobility in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, foofy, like frail and weak, and like, oh, have the maid do it. I wouldn't ever pick up that. Ooh. And then you have like peasants just doing hard work and like chopping down trees. It really does feel like these people are just snooty nobles.
Yeah.
And I hate to call them that because it makes them sound better than they are.
Yeah.
But they really, it's almost like, I don't know what you'd call it, an excess of society. They do nothing to benefit society. They think they're smarter and better. They're not making anything, but they think they're entitled to everything. Yeah. That's nightmarish.
This reminds me so much of the French Revolution, and we know how that ended. So I'm sure that's not going to happen.
No, it's the
but
weirdo crazies who take over because they got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
And people who worked want to be left alone because they got work to do.
Yeah.
I don't know where this ends up, but I do know that we kind of went off on a
Yeah,
fun,
little
wild
bit.
ride.
Yeah, wow.
Oh wow.
So why don't we got a couple more segments.
Oh wow, that's a full hour.
Totally.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
good conversation though.
Yeah, that was good. Solid.
So the next segment we have for you, video games are getting banned in China.
Yep.
And I think this, I'm going to be
Multiplayer games specifically.
right.
Not just video games. They don't really care about the video games, but
I'm just gonna go for it.
oh yeah.
I think this is a dangerous precursor to war. I'm not
I
saying
don't know if I agree with you there.
I'm not saying it will be for war or that it'll lead to war, that it's for war, but it's something that I think could contribute
Well, no,
to dangerous
actually,
escalation.
I think you're right, but a civil war. This
No.
is them, yeah, because their citizens are getting pissed and are fed up with it. I mean, we're seeing videos that are coming out, and then these people get ghosted.
Well,
All right,
we'll
yeah.
save it. We're gonna
All right,
we're gonna jump
all
over to the super
Yeah, yeah.
chats right now,
Let's
and then
do
we're
that.
gonna have this debate over. So China's actually they're banning video games, but
Yep.
if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button because it really does help the channel. Subscribe if you want to get more videos like this, and hit the notification bell. But also jump in the super chat if you haven't. I have to admit, I don't think we're gonna be able to read everyone's super chat, but we are going to read many of them, and so let's just go for it. Not a bad, and I also want to mention that the super chats are actually an hour old at this point, so there's always a time delay.
But thank you, everybody.
Totally. Not a banned account says, if we get rid of more rights, will the virus end? Yeah, that seems to be what everyone thinks. Just take away everyone's rights.
Sure.
But I will mention, because we were talking about this earlier today, if it came out like from the government that the Chinese government exacerbated the problem and that it came from a lab and it was confirmed, you'd probably see a bunch of people say like, yes, sir, thank you, sir, tell me what to do. We're in this together.
Yeah.
The like, it's an accident, it's a pandemic, let's work together. It's not enough for people to rally. It's like you give them an enemy, they'll do it.
Yep.
Dark Renji says, my 2018 taxes were filed, but I didn't receive my money while friends did. Any ideas why? It's coming in waves. That's my understanding. Your Trump bucks may come. Just be patient. Genres and Generation says, I second what someone sent yesterday. Watch Max Dorat's video on MGS2, but also watch the Deus Ex one. I'd love to see a podcast discussion about it. That was cool. We'll check it out. You want to take a note?
Yep.
Yeah,
Taking
cool.
a note.
Redbeard says, do you think the doomsday clock will get moved up? I'm reminded of the quote from Watchmen when Dr. Manhattan is asked about the doomsday clock being moved to 5 minutes from midnight. And he says something funny like a fictional clock being changed is no more like soothing than like a drowning man seeing a picture of oxygen or something. I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but it's like really well done. And it's like, the doomsday clock was made up by someone because of their opinion, and moving it is someone else's opinion. It means literally nothing to anyone.
Yep.
I write Tim and Adam fanfic. Ooh, here we go. What's this?
Oh, jeez.
Creepy Joe Biden grinned as Adam and Tim were bound and gagged. No. He prepared to harvest their ballots when suddenly Trump pounced, striking down the violator with his katana and saving their purity.
I love this so much.
And Trump was wearing a fedora and a duster.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Naturally.
Ruslan says China must be punished for this. And I wonder how, how.
Right, how?
Spice says, do you think we can say Voldemort yet? Also, I really appreciate your content. For those that aren't familiar, Voldemort is the name of a CIA agent. I'm not allowed to say his name. So no, we can't say his name.
Yeah, no.
Cordo Maltese says, Tim Pool, more like Tim Cool, am I right?
Yeah.
You know it.
Am I right?
And I used
Nice. I
but
felt like someone had to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Graf von Tyrol says, I just realized the same Who director named Robert Mugabe as Goodwill Ambassador in 2017, and Nancy Pelosi takes this organization's side. Sheesh. It's almost like their opinions aren't real. When they're like, World Health Organization is good. What are you talking about? Nobody agrees.
I just see a bunch of robots.
Yeah,
Right, totally.
That's what it feels like. Nancy Pelosi is a robot to me.
What
she is programmed.
What if China was secretly building androids
Maybe.
and they've been deployed and they're all robots?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I knew it.
All right, let's see what we got here. Ceylon Blue says China bans online gaming with foreigners after Animal Crossing was used to promote Hong Kong. That's what we'll be talking about next.
Yep.
Spoiler.
Get into it.
Captain Sugar says there's a difference between knowing and being absolutely sure. Guy Sensei. Lee
point.
Van Cleef says, Tim, Adam, Lydia, do any of you believe that you have the qualifications to exercise free will? Your values, ideas, even your personality, are they yours or just a product of the mindless masses? I absolutely have free will.
Me too.
The discussion, the idea I've brought up before about this is that, it was a simulation theory I mentioned where you could be in a single player game where you are the only free will actor.
Right.
You could be in an MMO where there are some free will and some not. And then you can be in, just like the world is normal. Everyone's got free will. And, it's hard you'll never know because you can't experience someone else's consciousness.
That's true. I just watched a documentary about that.
But I can
really
tell you
interesting.
that I do find the debate fascinating, determinism versus, free will, that everything about you is predetermined based upon what happened before. If that's true, we should be able to see the future very easily. With enough computational power, we should be able to actually map out every possible variable in how the universe forms. So we're not there yet. I'd imagine it would take a ridiculous and insane amount of energy to actually compute something like that. But I'm not entirely convinced. I think that there is something unique and divine within all of us that allows us some kind of, we control. We do. I believe in free will.
Yep, I agree.
But I think it's.
I could put this beanie on with my free will, or I can choose to not put it on and leave it right there.
You could do something.
It's up to me.
Here,
That's right.
You could do something totally ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. If you put that beanie on, people might say, well, it's because you were self-conscious. You took it off, same thing. But what if you cut it up into a million pieces?
They'd be like, oh,
You could
the
do
beanie.
You could do something right now that would make no sense. And that's why I'm more inclined to believe in free will.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, I could pick the earth up and just throw it against the wall. I mean,
And
it wouldn't make sense.
you wouldn't do it because it's a net negative and doesn't do anything for you, but you could.
I could.
And that's why I believe in free will. Because I could absolutely just flip this table over and storm out and never do another
I don't
show
know.
again.
It's a pretty heavy table.
Well, I could, knock it over.
You could cause
I'm
trouble.
confident.
Yeah.
I could cause trouble.
You can cause trouble, yeah.
It's so
Wait for after the
I've
show.
made this
please.
point to people where it's like you could choose to do something that makes no sense and is completely out of character, like literally no sense. And sure, you can still argue it's a product of who you are and how you're developed, but
Yeah.
I mostly like the idea of free speech. Haru Glory says, "You're so sexy, Tim. I appreciate it, but it's Youre with an apostrophe. Yeah, the wrong your. I'm sorry. Pickle for it's the internet. We're always going to point out your bad grammar.
That.
Totally.
Yeah, it's true.
Pickle for Sanity says, so I have a question that always gets some good conversation. When wiping, sit or stand, and for TP, fold or wrap, and why? We're going to skip that question, but for those of you in the comments, feel free to have some fun. Perhaps
There's actually this. Go ahead. What were you
I
saying?
was going to say, perhaps in the context of Amber Heard, this question would make more sense, sitting or standing.
There's this YouTube show called 100 Humans, and they actually like make them do random things, and one of them was to show us how you poop, like show us what you do, just to see like how many people do the over or under, when they put the thing on there, or
I'm not
wipe front to back to front. It's like, it's kind of hilarious. And I'm not going to answer this question, but go watch that show because it's pretty funny.
I'm not interested in talking about my personal life. I am interested in talking about Amber Heard, though.
I don't want to talk about her
when
anymore.
she was standing on top of Johnny Depp's bed,
Squatting.
With witnesses.
Did she have to sit down?
With witnesses. That's
then
what
wrap the
blows
TV?
me away.
All right.
Plural.
All right, that's
Let's move on.
enough. Let's go.
Al Santiago says, "Hey Tim, are you a fan of Gundam Wing? I want to donate the poster I made. I do freelance illustration as my side hustle. No anime or comic convention happening soon, so business is kind of slow to me. I've never been a very big Gundam Wing fan, though I know what it is. Funny enough, Google once banned Gundam Wing because gun was in the name.
Oh my
Are you kidding me?
I kid you not.
Have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
When he pulls the big, huge Gundam suit and he turns into the massive Gundam?
I barely remember.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
cool,
I know.
It's an amazing scene.
I'm not a big fan of the giant robot anime stuff.
Okay.
Like, I get it, whatever. Nah. I like the more martial arts anime stuff. Yu Yu Hakusho, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z.
Well, what about Power Rangers? That's like the perfect mashup of both. You got.
Oh man, oof. Power Rangers.
Hey, I think at like 9 years old, and I watched Power Rangers.
Yeah, man.
I don't.
As a kid, I liked it.
I think I watched some of it, but I never really.
I used to jump around the couch, jump off, high kick.
Remember Beetleborgs?
Yeah,
It was like a.
No, what are they? I do. What
It was
is
like it was the weirdest show. These little kids, like a comic book came to life or something, and then they got Beetleborg powers. Like, it's the weirdest thing. It didn't make sense, but it was kind of like Power Rangers. Oh, and there were VR troopers. They kept trying to make a bunch of knockoffs of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
But then Power Rangers kept
chugging
Power Rangers
along.
Neon, Power Rangers Ninjas or whatever.
No, I never watched any of those. I watched the OG one.
The OG one.
OG, yeah.
Yeah, with Bulk and Skull.
Yep.
I think they're going to be making a new Power Rangers movie. Did you see that short film with what's her name? It's who's in it? I forget her name. She was Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica.
More. There's a new show that she's on?
No, they did
Another Life?
They did a short film.
Oh, okay.
Where it was like the Power Rangers but in the future, and it's like super gritty and really dark.
Oh, cool.
It was really
Terra
good.
Thrace.
Sounds better.
No.
That's what they were calling Starbuck, but I don't know. Some other chick.
Did you watch
Battlestar
Battlestar Galactica?
The new one?
The new one, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
Amazing.
I watched it.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, I binged
It's a
the
good
whole
show.
thing. It was an amazing show.
Really good show.
All right, let's read some more. Rhett the chef says, Tim, Hoaxed was wonderful. 10 out of 10. It was great seeing you in it. I had a good time being in it. And there were some people in it I disagree with. There are some people in it I agreed with. But for the most part, I provided my opinion and commentary to someone who asked for it.
Perfect.
And, of course, Amazon purged it.
Of course.
Amazing. James Merriweather says, can you talk about WWE firing numerous wrestlers after being declared essential? Also, Vince McMahon lying about WWE having a stake in the XFL. I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about that either.
I do know that Donald Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he's our president.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Crossover. Love it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool.
LaSalle Rhyme says, happy hump day, guys. You know it. Alex Bucci says, love you guys. Have some money. Oh, we will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Inspiration says, did Epstein neckbones break a week before he died? He was found unconscious on the first attempt. Whether he did it or not, I don't know. No idea. Cyan says, good day, guys. Hope you're good. Greetings from Australia, land of the crazy. You
What
are
up?
quickly becoming a part of my morning routine. Keep up the good work.
Oh,
morning.
nice.
Yeah.
Morning
Thank you.
routine.
Good
Well,
morning
yeah, it's
to you.
Yeah, I
night for
know.
us.
Yeah.
That's great.
Dark Fox says, Minnesota's protest is tomorrow at noon from the Capitol to the governor's mansion. Yeah, there's a ton of protests happening.
Yes, there are.
This is what I tell people. It's like a Chinese finger trap. The
Yeah.
government thinks, I know, we'll lock everything down with harsh draconian laws. That'll stop it, and then makes everything worse.
Right. People
Instead
are
of-
like, you can't do that to us. Well, we're
Yep.
coming out.
Yep. And South Dakota won't do it. The governor keeps saying, I'm not going to lock down. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And they're being dragged. The governor is being attacked by people. It's so ridiculous.
But probably not South Dakotans.
No, definitely not.
Right. It's like,
Maybe some.
they're states.
But it's like, here's the thing. If you get a problem with like no lockdown, you can stay home.
right.
Like, what, you don't got to tell other people what to do. You know?
Yeah.
One says, if you don't like us and think we are terrible, share us anyway and annoy your friends. That's
Yes.
a really good point you
hey,
make.
yeah.
If you think we are awful, then share
Send
us
it
to know your
everyone who
friends.
deserves
Yes.
it.
You send everyone who
Tell
deserves
them to
it.
come and tell us how awful we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can handle it.
Church FTC says, hey, Tim, I emailed you about the animated video you talked about last week. I just wanted to make sure you knew. Animated video. Which one?
Was that the guy who was talking to you about animating for you?
No.
No?
No. He said I mentioned an animated video. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Fearless Soldier says, Adam, wondering if you got my tweets about Tony Hawk doing All In Challenge 1, how Pix11 was reporting about 12-day-old info to smear the prez, and I asked if you are playing Warzone.
I'm not sure if I caught that one, but I'll dig through my tweets, see if I can. But I don't know anything about that, so.
S-Head says, when Soy Jesus shaves his face, it makes him look both like both the child and the adult.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
I'm really digging into it, you know? I'm
That's
trying
right.
to get into character. No.
Justin says, what would a war with China look like? A lot of power plants would probably explode because we have these really old industrial facilities that are extremely weak to cyber attacks.
Okay.
Now, we may have gone and like secured them over the past couple of years.
Yeah, retrofitted them.
Right. But really old, really basic technology controlling a lot of these things, easily exploitable. It's one of the disadvantages to inventing things. So these other countries, when they finally get around to implementing, say, like cellular technology,
Okay.
this actually happened in a lot of countries. We invent cell phones, and then by the time another country starts developing their infrastructure, the technology is already advanced. So their initial infrastructure is better than ours. So we still operate on really old infrastructure that needs to be updated. A lot of countries don't.
Yeah.
It's why there's two different standards. It's mostly merging. There's like the CDMA and the GSM standard. So the US still has networks that use something called CDMA. I think for the most part it's phased out. Like we're all doing now with like 5G and LTE stuff. It's all synchronizing under the GSM. But this was a direct result of us finding like a decent technology. It did really well, but then other countries got the update and didn't need it. So
Right.
Kevin says, shout out to my brother Keith. He looked like Soy Jesus. Amazing.
Right.
Fearless Soldier says, all in challenge, not all in challenge 1. All in challenge. What is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, the all-in challenge. I feel like I've seen other people
Tony
posting about this.
Tony Hawk is on Vans now.
I saw that.
That's crazy.
I don't
yeah.
think it's that crazy.
I kind of do because he didn't he, what was he on before? Was he on like, I don't even know what shoe he was riding for before.
I mean, I remember him. Seeing videos of him as a young kid wearing Vans.
Yeah, I mean, he's the skateboarder.
Like, Vans are what I've been wearing for a long time. I actually recently just got Etnies because they make vegan skate shoes, and they're pretty great. I'm pretty happy with them. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
John says, PSA, please everyone let your friends and family know. Do not wait to go to the ER for emergencies. People have waited out of fear with stroke and other time-critical emergencies. That's very good advice.
Agreed.
Amansol says, Trump just threatened to suspend Congress. What? Did he really? Can you Google
He
that?
threatened to suspend both houses, I believe. Hold on.
What?
Yeah,
Are you
he did.
serious?
No.
Just now? This just happened?
Just during the time we've been in the show,
What?
I think.
If Donald
That's
Trump
pretty crazy.
tries to suspend Congress, I will grab a picket sign and I will be marching down to D.C.
He threatened to adjourn both chambers of Congress.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Like go home for
Pause
the
it
day?
For a while.
I don't like that
Adjourning, from
either.
My understanding.
No,
is
you
just
can't do
like
that.
Put a pause on it for a minute.
Yeah,
Nope.
can't they just be like, nope?
I
Checks
don't
and
know.
balances?
there's no
What?
one branch stronger than the other.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not stand for that in
That
any
doesn't make
capacity.
any sense. But we got to definitely look into that. That's crazy.
For sure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Adjourn them? Nuh-uh.
A sneak peek into
Nah.
tomorrow's show.
Let him prove all of the crazy Trump derangement syndrome people right by pulling that off.
No, don't
Because I'll
do
be
it,
standing
bro.
next to them screaming like, you can't do
Yeah,
that, bro.
that's nuts.
I can sit here and talk about all these governors violating the Constitution.
Right.
I have no problem pointing the finger at Trump when he tries pulling that off too.
Yep.
Yeah, the National Constitution Center noted that, quote, no president has ever exercised that authority.
It was the stupidest thing he could have said.
Yeah,
I'll tell
why
you
would he
this.
say that?
Because he wants the TDS people to have ammunition against them.
That's
But
so
you know what?
Yeah.
If he proves them right, he proves them right. There you go. That's on him. He can say it, whatever. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
That's
Thanks
bridge too
for letting
far.
us know. 'Cause
Dude.
that's
Man.
nuts.
The meltdown of what's happening in this country is starting to freak me out.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not specifically referring to Trump, but when he said, I have total authority or whatever, it's like, oh, shut up, dude.
You know you don't.
Whatever, man. All these governors are doing all this crazy stuff. The last thing we need is the president to jump on board too.
Yeah.
It's like everybody needs to chill out. I don't care who you are, man. You start taking a dump on the Constitution, you're gonna hear me yell about it. Well, we'll look into that one because I assure you, I'm going to read that and I'm going to start screeching into my microphone. You'll see me getting triggered. Let's see, sir. I can't read your name. It says China going to pay what they owe. Nathan Rayner says Virginia governor pushed through gun control bill during lockdown. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Same thing.
Yep.
Same thing. What do you,
like,
it's
come on.
all of these people are just so awful.
I agree.
You know. Adam Collins says, what will it take for MSM to get back to its roots and begin to actually report facts and ask legitimate questions again? I mean, have you tried turning it off and on again? Like, let them all go bankrupt and then build from the ground up?
Well, it's like when the air traffic
that's
controllers threatened to strike, and President Reagan was like, "You're fired. Bye."
Yeah,
And he started
yep.
from this, scratch.
You know, one of my favorite memes is V for Vendetta. And he's got a headset with a microphone on, and it
Okay.
says, "Your government is doing what? Have you tried turning it off and back on again?" I'm like, yes.
Yes. I mean, yeah.
It's so weird that these memes back in like 2011 and 2012 were very much just libertarian. It didn't matter if you were left or right. It was like you were anti-establishment. You believed in freedom and liberty. But now many of these activists have joined the authoritarian wing. It's like, they're probably cheering for like these lockdowns. They're defending them. It's nuts. Jason Allen says, with news coming out about the virus coming from a lab in Wuhan, what do you think Trump's public reaction will be? I think so far they've said, well, we're looking at it. We don't know for sure. And I think the reason they're saying it is because if they came out and said, yep, then the public would demand a reaction,
right.
a response of some sort. So let's see. Josh Clark says, China tries to prove it's better than the U.S., fails so hard it starts a worldwide pandemic. That's what the news is reporting right now.
Yep.
White Knight says Dan Crenshaw deserves an apology. Apology for what? I mean, Dan's cool. He's been ragged on for a lot of things. Yeah.
The beanie's back.
Timothy E. says, I don't think U.S. beats China in a war. We have ridiculous rules of engagement. They don't care. Same reason Vietnam and Middle East wars were so bad. I've heard that. I also think that as the U.S. gets more and more desperate, you'll see people not caring about any rules. Like the fact that we have rules of engagement are due to the fact that we're wealthy and privileged.
Yep, that's
But
true.
when we're actually under threat, someone's going to sit back and be like, the rules be damned. And he's going to press the button. And, and there we go. And the world doesn't exist anymore. JD says, China lied and people died. I hope there's consequences for this travesty. I'm not convinced there will be. But if escalation gets worse, then
I agree.
Don't be surprised if it does. Jeb Reed says, YouTube is getting investigated currently by the FBI. I have not heard that.
Wow.
I'll have to look into that.
I didn't know that.
Travis Potter says, do you guys believe these lockdowns, which some violate the Constitution, are acceptable? What do you think is the best form of protest against them while trying to stay safe? I don't believe in them. I think they've gone nuts. And I like the idea of what a lot of these conservatives did with their cars. They kept their doors and windows up, and they just formed a traffic jam, started honking like crazy. And I'm like, that's actually impressive. You know why? Like,
They're still in quarantine, and
What?
they're protesting.
one person in a car takes up way more space than one person on the street.
It's true.
So you actually see this massive traffic jam, and it's like, that's not even that many people, and that's a huge impact. You get 50 people in the middle of an intersection, they get rounded up and arrested right away.
Yeah.
You get 50 people in cars, and those cars are jammed everywhere. They can't get those cars out, man.
That's a really good point.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that's what they've been doing.
It's an idea.
Yeah. The Hylian says, this was just viral marketing for the Resident Evil 3 remake. They did a great job. Got everyone on lockdown. The video game industry says, coming up. Excellent. Alex V says, what would be more embarrassing for the far left, AOC losing or AOC becoming mainstream to keep her seat, the second one, which she's doing? She's going to endorse Joe Biden or something.
She kind of halfway did.
Right. Wolf Spain says, I don't remember if you mentioned this in an earlier segment, but China has been pushing blame to minorities for spreading the virus. And where is the left to call this out? Hypocrisy at its worst.
Yeah.
I know. How is it that I've come out
what
with
I don't understand.
multiple videos complaining about this?
How is no one talking about this? Where are the social justice warriors when there's literally social justice stuff happening?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like crickets.
Maybe it's
all I hear is
because-
crickets.
Maybe it's because they're Chinese trolls.
Maybe.
China!
Is this like Russian bots
crazy.
2.0?
Right.
Yes.
Well, maybe the people claiming the Russian bots were actually Chinese people claiming that Americans were Russians.
Oh gosh.
Oh, man.
oh, yeah.
China!
We go deeper into the hole.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Rye says, Tim, the channel called Epoch Times recently has shown on my ads. Do you know if they're reliable? How do you check your sources? So I use a third-party service called NewsGuard. They're a group of journalists that rate news agencies. I think they're very biased, but I don't think they're the absolute worst. Now, they give Epoch Times, I think, a bad rating because Epoch Times is very, very biased against China. And I think they're moderately pro-Trump only in the sense that Trump is anti-China.
Okay.
I don't have an issue with biased reporting as long as you know what that bias is. It doesn't mean the facts they're giving you are like made up. It means they're selectively showing you information, which is fine because it's not like you go them for all of your news.
It kind of frustrates me when people say, this is from CNN. I will never listen to anything they say. I'm like, okay, they have an opinion. You know what their opinion is.
Right.
They can still present the news, and they do.
Yeah, I would
They're good
say
source.
if it's on CNN's TV channel, ignore it. If it's on their website, take it with a grain of salt. But the website's very, very different. Very
Okay.
different.
Double
The same is
check
true
it.
for Fox News. The Fox News website is really good. Really, really good.
Okay.
And they even have opinion writers who are very lefty. The TV channels the TV channel, actually through the daytime is pretty good. It's the nightly hosts that are very bombastic. Except for, Tucker is too. And, it's like I roll my eyes when he calls Brian Stelter a eunuch, and he does, and things like that. And I'm like, Tucker doesn't need to do that. He's got a great show. He brings on good guests. But, yeah, that's what people do, and people like it. What
Yeah.
can I say? Yes, let's see. Robert Goldie says, hi, Tim. Do you think there is a possibility that people will backlash against the Democrats for wasting money investigating Trump that could have been used in this pandemic? I'd like to think that, but, I'll tell you what.
Probably not.
People have drawn their lines.
Yep.
Most people are like, I'm on this side or this side. And it's getting to the point where I'm seeing people that, on the left praising the World Health Organization. And I'm like, you're insane.
Right.
I'm sorry, man. You're insane.
Or defending them just because.
I'm sorry. The Associated Press has come out and said that China was withholding information. The World Health Organization fed us BS.
Yeah.
If you're defending them, it's because you're pretending to be partisan. That's all you care about.
Well, or not necessarily that. It could just because not that they're pretending or anything. They believe it because it's the World Health Organization. That title alone.
No. The AP.
No, I'm seeing friends of mine that are posting like, God, I can't believe that Trump is, suspending the World Health Organization. Right. And I'm just like, do you know what they've done recently?
But I'm not talking about the layman.
Okay.
I'm saying that there are political people, like commentators like me, who are defending the WHO. And I'm like, how did you miss the Associated Press reporting on this unless you don't actually read the news?
Right.
So maybe they're
or you're
dumb.
being paid to ignore it. That's a stretch, I know. But.
No, but I would say framing, but you're right. They make more money when they ignore it. Mm-hmm. They will make more money saying Trump is wrong. We must protect the WHO. It's like, dude, listen, if Donald Trump tries to make some kind of move to adjourn or suspend Congress or do something like that, I'll screech the top of my lungs about it. I don't care. When I make content, it's because of something I believe in. When I see someone come out and say the World Health Organization must be protected, I'm like, but did you read the AP's story about this? Like, I'm sorry, man. That I can't believe.
All right.
It's like there's no principles. It's I'm on this side, and we're the side that's not Trump.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about that. I think Trump has got good and bad things going for him. That's a ridiculous thing. It's not a policy position to like or hate Trump. I'll put it that way. It makes no sense.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Completely. Yep.
It's like you can like the guy, you can hate like I met a guy in an airport.
Yeah, I don't like everything he does. Not at all.
I met a guy I was in an airport, and the woman who was serving drinks was a Bernie supporter.
Okay.
The guy on my left was a Trump supporter, and the news was on. I asked the woman, I was like, would you mind putting on CNN? I was like, I know it's probably gonna make everybody angry, but like I don't remember what was on the TV, but it was stupid. And she put it on, and they were talking, and then this started a conversation. She said she was in favor of Bernie, mentioned a few policies. The guy on my left goes, nah, Trump all the way. And I was like, really? I was like, what about him? Don't you take issue with like his attitude and the way he talks about things? And the guy laughed, and he was like, does that mean he's bad at being a president because he's a bad person? I'm like, no, I get the point. Like, totally, you're right.
Right.
I'm just wondering how you feel about it. And he goes, oh God, the guy's a lowlife. I wouldn't invite him to my house for dinner. I'm going to vote for him in 2020. He started laughing, and I laughed. And the woman behind the counter, the Bernie supporter, started laughing too.
Yeah.
And she was like, I would never vote for that man, but you're right. He's a bad guy. And the guy was like, yeah, I think he's terrible, but he was right on the economy. The money's good. He's working right for this country, but I wouldn't let him in my house for dinner. And I started laughing.
That's
And
interesting.
I'm like, but I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was in an Uber. This was when I got invited to Glenn Beck's show in Texas.
Okay.
I was in an Uber on the way to the studio, and the guy asked, like, so what are you in town for? And I was like, oh, it's, Glenn Beck's show. We're going to talk. It's a podcast. And he was like, oh, yeah, Glenn Becker, blah, 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 and started talking about politics. And then I asked him, I was like, so what about you? This is a Latino guy in Texas. And I was like, "You gonna vote for Trump or I can't remember who else was running." And he was like, "Oh yeah, of course, of course." He's like, "I just wish he wouldn't tweet so much. I wish he would kind of just shut his mouth. But the economy's been really good, and I think he's good for this country. But he's got attitude." And I started laughing. I'm like, I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I really do. And I don't think these activists realize it. That we get it, man. We get the orange man is bad,
Yeah.
right? But there are a lot of people who are like, that doesn't change the fact that he's a businessman who's going to bring the jobs back and fulfill these things he's been talking about.
Which it seems like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
It
almost
was
This
happening,
pandemic
yeah.
is forcing the world's
Totally.
America's hand.
The craziest thing about Trump is that I think a lot of, what was I going to say? Something like people don't realize that. Now, I lost my train of thought on this one, but I think I basically gave the gist of it already.
Yeah.
That the attitude of Trump means absolutely nothing to the regular people.
Right.
It's these activists are asking us to make a vote based on emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
don't do
don't-
that.
Well, did you see the story earlier about the woman who tore the Trump flag down, the man and the woman, the
Oh, yeah.
doctors?
No.
And they brought their kids with them.
Really?
Yeah, and the one kid was begging them, "Please, you're going to go to jail. Don't do this." And they were like, "Be quiet." And then they got a ladder and they go up and they steal the flag, and they got arrested for it.
Yeah, no kidding.
These people are coming out and saying, "Don't vote for Trump," and you're like, "Why?" And they're just telling you because they emotionally react negatively to him.
Yep.
They don't realize that everyone understands those feelings and still doesn't care.
Right.
That there's other things they find to be more important.
That's
But-
crazy, man. You're
That-
nailing it.
But that's why they're running Joe Biden. Because it doesn't matter who runs. These people have a weird emotional blockage in their brain.
Yep.
Where the only thing they're thinking is, "I hate Trump."
Yep.
They want to get him. Ooh, they want that symbol to be knocked down. But that's not how you win, man.
Nope.
You don't, I always try and warn my friends who are skating and get angry.
Yeah.
They'll get angry, they'll start kicking their board around, and I'm like, you realize this is blocking you from succeeding, right?
Right.
You've lost your focus, you're enraged. It is a trope in martial arts movies. Get your opponent angry so he loses focus and swings wildly.
Yep.
You gotta calm down. You will not win if you are freaking out.
That's a good point.
But they'll freak
Yeah.
out anyway.
Like
Yep.
today, I thought to myself, I took a deep breath and then I landed it.
Oh, the skating, you were skating.
Yep.
Yeah, Adam did. It was you went. It's all. I think
I don't even know.
I guess
It
you
was
call
like
it fakey. Fakey
yeah.
body variable blunt rock revert.
Body varial rock to
You could-
stall.
there's a bunch of ways.
Revert. I did so many different versions of it, but
You basically did a pretty beast trick.
I
and you
smacked.
just calmed.
I fell a lot trying to get to it though.
But
and
you
it
weren't
hurt.
angry. You were stoked the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was getting closer and closer. But if I had gotten angry, there's
Contrast
no way I would have landed that.
contrast that with like the reaction of a Trump supporter,
Right.
Who will see something and like Trump will turn the insult into a joke and they'll laugh about it, and then they'll keep doing their thing.
Right.
Versus the people who get triggered, who get so frustrated and flustered they can't see straight,
And that becomes their entire everything.
and they get arrested after they steal some dude's flag. It's like, wow, dude, you have hurt yourself.
Right.
It's like you've hurt yourself in confusion.
Don't you have
Way to
anything?
put it.
Don't you have anything better to do with your life?
Yeah, man.
Don't you?
It's a.
Come on.
I read the definition of Trump derangement syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It originated in the Bush era for Bush derangement syndrome, and it was Charles Krauthammer, I think. Am I saying his name right?
Yep. Krauthammer.
And he said it's the onset of extreme emotional distress and paranoia in seemingly normal people over specifically the existence of an individual. I don't get what it is, man. It's like these people can't think rationally.
Yeah.
They see Obama and they cry, hope and change. It means nothing. They see Donald Trump and they cry and scream, Orange Man. It's like there's no substance behind what they're saying or doing.
Exactly.
And then so you end up like there's a lot of people.
And no rational reasoning for them to even well, what about it? Well, he said terrible things.
Right.
Okay. What else? You know.
Does that affect me?
It's like, well, what about his policies that you don't like? I don't care. He's just a bad person. It's
Yeah.
like, but what about his policies that
Dude, they
I mean, these interviews are always cherry picked, so it's hard to really use them as an example.
there are people who have made a career out of doing gotcha man on the street interviews.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a university, you grab a stack of, Bernie Sanders proposals
Yep.
and Donald Trump proposals, and you invert the name, and like clockwork. You walk up to a college student and take a Trump quote and says, Donald Trump says that China is really dangerous and it's about time we bring our factories back and work and fight for the working class. And they're going to be like, that sounds like Bernie. I'm going to vote for him. You're like, well, that was Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders actually said China is a great partner. That's what the people do all the time.
Yeah.
You've seen them.
I have seen that. Yeah.
And it's
again cherry picked. It's like,
but it's not even
if they
about
get enough people, they can make it seem however they want.
this one isn't about cherry picking.
Right.
Cherry picking videos are more like they try to make you look stupid. So they'll find so they'll go to someone and say, name a policy of Bernie you like, and they'll show only the dumb ones.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go to any person, smart, and be like, if I told you this, would you agree? And then they'll be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And then it turns out it's a Hitler quote or something.
Right.
Because, like, I guess you could say you could cherry pick certain quotes that are popular.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. It's easy to pull off. Mm-hmm. But I think it's fair to say that you could do something like, is this Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump? And read a quote from Bernie in 2008 where he's like, we need this border barrier. Illegal immigration is hurting jobs in this country, and people are going to think it's Trump.
Yep.
And it's true. Like, actually, that was Bernie. That was Hillary. That was Biden. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna go through these super chats much more quickly now because we do have this video game segment we got to get to.
Oh yeah.
Totally. Let's see. Baltazar says Bill Gates says vaccines cause damage. Dr. Fauci is on the leadership council for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dr. Burtz's daughter is the deputy director there also. Bill Gates is the WHO's second biggest donor too. I don't know anything about the Bill Gates stuff, but I do think people are overreacting. Mr. Paul R. says, got some extra Trump bucks today. Agree highly with Tim Pool. Only Wuhan theory was following this in January. Enjoy all that you do. Call the CCP virus wordy dord.
Boom. CCP virus.
I like Wuhan virus. Because
the Wuhan virus, yeah.
It's the name of the city. It's the standard by which we name things, and it recognizes the Chinese, government.
Yep.
All right, Steven says, F YouTube, Tim. Keep doing the real news. You are more of a journalist than that Reza Aslan ever was. Mm-hmm. Jason Pratt says, look into how Western scientists engineered the H5N1 virus in 2010 to be more transmissible to study its effects. I think the Chinese did the same thing. Interesting. Chet Chisholm says, look into the Chinese scientist Jianguo Qiu. She was being investigated by the RCMP for a policy breach while working at a microbiology lab in Winnipeg. She was working at a level 4 lab in China before. Mm-hmm. Student of history says, before I was wondering if I was being too harsh by entirely blaming China for this complete S show. Now I have no doubt in my mind that I was right. And the media, social media, every one of them. Mm-hmm. Sean Hanner, thanks for the super chat. Dwayne, also, thanks for the super chat. Scott says, please investigate drop in recorded flu deaths lately. As we are told, COVID-related deaths are increasing. I saw data from this, and I did not see it. There was a chart that was going viral showing the current flu season, and it was like a normal wave compared to other years, and coronavirus is a major spike.
Yeah.
So I've heard these things, but I haven't seen it, and so it's like, if I can't,
it's too soon.
I need data.
Data, yeah.
RMB says, shut up and take my money. I will.
Thank you.
Patrick says, thank you for your continued reporting, even in these hard times. Oh, no problem. I mean, what else would I do? It's technically an essential function. We are. Yeah, the media is considered essential. We could walk around and they can't do anything.
We're essential.
I mean, yeah, so no, but literally if we got like press cards for the show, media is considered essential. We could walk around and like, what are you doing? It's like, we're doing a show, It's press. And it's like, all right, there you go.
Yeah, man.
Shrek says, sitting outside enjoying margaritas from the local Mexican food, thanks for delivery, and relaxed laws on alcohol delivery here in Texas, and very little restrictions so far, but not too bad here either. Sounds fun.
Texas, man. I like that place.
I cannot read these symbols, which I believe are Chinese, but they say, Soy Jesus is right. An intentional bioweapon release would involve simultaneous release in multiple major American cities.
Yep.
Intelligent person would pick a stable one, low mutation rate, so already developed vaccine will work. Interesting. Ryan says, the West has grown weak. What better time to attack us? Some would say. F. Garrett says, listen to y'all every day at work. How close do you think China is to revolting to their government? Their economy is going to take a huge hit from companies pulling out. It looks bad for them.
I think we're really close. And our next article, yeah.
Yeah, so the next segment we're going to do is going to dive into this. Adam thinks it's could be internal collapse. Someone mentioned the other day that there already is strife in the party.
I think
between Xi Jinping and this other guy.
Yep.
Roland says, hey, Tim, been watching you for a while now, and I finally have the money to donate. Ironically enough, given the, economy, keep doing what you do. You provide a very valuable service. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to see that many of the Trump bucks are coming my way. Yes, more. Someone said the other day, like, I got my Trump bucks, here's $10. And I'm like, yes. Trump. He put his name on them. They got all mad. Joseph Lynn says, as soon as he let his Jesus hair out, he starts talking MAGA. Coincidence.
Oh.
I quickly shoved it back in.
That's right.
Student of history says, Soy Jesus and the Beanie Bro going full MAGA for about 10 minutes here.
I love it.
This timeline is
we
weird.
We did
amazing.
go on a rant, didn't we?
But it's
I regret nothing.
it's not fair to us that what the left used to be agreed with Trump on so many of these issues.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you can't expect me to change my opinion overnight because you wanted to adopt these weird social media activist
Yeah,
things.
exactly. We stayed in the very center.
No. We're
We're left. We're left of the center line.
we used to be.
Well, we used to be considered left of the center line, but now with everyone way over there, everything's to the right.
They jumped off the cliff. Like we're
and
all
they're just falling away.
and as they fall away, they're like, "You're far right."
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, we're actually up here, like, not falling.
Man.
Yeah. Adventure says a chicken plant near me once was to be shut down after discovering they were employing undocumented workers who may have or had tested positive for COVID. City wouldn't let them due to taxes. Wow.
Jeez.
JP says darker skinned people have less vitamin D. It's not racism. That causes the disparity in deaths. Oh, really? Carrie Steer says the Amazon show The Expanse show what Earth would be like if all the far left policies are enacted, and it's scary. I need to rewatch it.
It's such a good show.
Buck A says, like I said, Trump is playing 4D chess with the rest of the world. China and WHO have now been caught and red-handed, and our own media sides with them. TDS is deadlier than COVID-19. I kind of agree, man. I mean, not literally deadlier, but more dangerous because it could lead to full-on war.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul says, more Trump bucks your way. Stocked up on beans for the next 2 years. Still waiting on my Patriot supply, but my order is in front of 106,330 orders. Ordered February 26th, thanks to Tim Pool. Wow, man.
They are way backed up.
Yeah, but they've been speeding up. So for those that aren't familiar, I've done a promo for this emergency food stuff because I legit think it's a good idea. Yeah. And the delay went from like 12 weeks, now it's dipping back down. But they had to open new plants. There's a bunch of food shortages.
Are they made in America?
I think so.
I hope so.
Right.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah.
It'd be weird to have the like food grown in China and then shipped here, though.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was like very patriotic, the page.
Well,
and they're like, we won't sell to the U.S. government. I was like, geez, they're serious over there.
I'm like, I don't care if the U.S. government gets emergency food. I'm not worried about that much. All right, we have a major influx of super chats. So,
wow, nice.
Oh yeah, I got to figure out where.
Well,
we're
hey
at.
guys, remember to like and share if you so feel we deserve it.
Or wish to punish your
Wow,
friends.
this is huge.
Yeah. Or punish your friends if you
Totally.
think we're terrible. I'll accept it.
Susan says the world's oldest profession is begging. Somebody had to ask. Ha.
Oh, yeah.
Roddy says, hey, I brought this up yesterday, but I'll pay to try and get more information out there to everyone about the internal faction war going on in China. Jiang Zemin was the guy who took power after the Tiananmen massacre for supporting it. TBC. Interesting. Well, we're gonna read about this. We do have it pulled up.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
Emeka
this.
Obi says, thank you for preaching what I've been trying to tell people. Crony capitalism and owners who care all about the money to profit themselves while sending all the cheap labor to China.
Yep.
And this is what bothers me because then the left claims capitalism is broken. No. I'm sorry. Corrupt individuals and politicians extracting the middle class is corruption.
That's
has
exactly
nothing to do with capitalism or socialism for
It's
that
just
matter.
It's just run off the rails.
By people
Yeah.
selfishly exploiting the system for their personal gain.
Yep,
Found a way.
exactly.
Roddy says he began creating a cult of personality and put his loyalists in all positions of power. This is the Jiang guy. To finalize his power base so he could run things from behind, he selected Falun Gong as scapegoats and hunted them using the 610 office. Interesting. Yasser, thanks for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Michael Maroney says, if you want to solve the spoiled brat problem in this country, make voting contingent upon serving in the military for 2 years. That is the
Super Troopers?
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Not Super Troopers.
Roddy goes on. When Xi Jinping took power, he had the same idea and has needed to dismantle all of his enemies' loyalists through purges. The Jiang faction is deep in things like North Korea, which has been one of the reasons Xi hasn't been. Nicholas says you should read Starship Troopers. It depicts a society in which you have to put in 2 years of military service for the right to vote or hold office. Still have other basic rights, though. It's a fascinating idea. I think
It is.
Sargon is in favor of that. Now, I don't want to say what he's in favor of, but Sargon did a big video breaking down and it's a joke. What is it? Service guarantees citizenship or
Yep.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what if they just went, like you talked about not wanting mandatory boot camp, but what if that was all it was? If you want to vote, you got to do boot camp.
That's the general premise.
But not serve.
Right.
Not actually like go and serve and you might be in war, but just curious, like what would you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
That's okay.
this is why I'll never be in government.
Stay on the fence.
Well, I just don't think I'm
Safe.
smart enough to dictate for other people how they should live their lives.
No, just asking your
That's the-
opinion, though.
My opinion is that we probably need something. I don't know if that's the right answer,
Okay.
but we need something so that people are responsible with their vote.
Man, you'd make such a good politician.
No, I wouldn't. Oh, God.
You would.
I'd be standing there and be like,
They all agree with
no,
me.
because people would be like,
Don't you agree with me? Yes.
Mr. Poole, you're running for office. What's your position on increasing or decreasing taxes? I'd be like,
It's complicated.
I have no idea. Why should we vote for you? I have
don't
no
know.
idea. Don't.
No,
There's-
you would say, you know what? I'm not the expert. I'm going to bring in experts,
Yeah.
and I'm going to learn what I need to do. That's what you would say.
Probably. Or I'd just be like,
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you what, I'm going to sit there confused half the time, not understanding, because I'm going to have lobbyists from both sides screaming in my ears.
So the truth.
Yeah, right.
It'd
sure.
be
Oh, dude.
wonderful.
It would be incredible. I would
I
never
agree.
want to. I would
I
never
agree. It would be
I would never
incredible.
want to be in a position of national security. But if I was ever in like Congress or anything,
Mm-hmm.
I'd just be like just throwing documents out. Like, here's a picture. I take pictures of everything and be like, here you go, here you go. It's all public. Everyone gets to see it.
Yeah,
I
man.
love that.
I'd wear a permanent
No
live
more
stream
behind
camera.
the scenes. That's great. Let's,
be
let's
like-
get this guy in there.
Mr. Poole, this is a sensitive meeting. I'm like, oh, can you guys see? He said it was sensitive. What was that again? You what? Hold on, they're chatting me right now. They're saying,
my
tell him to shut up. We pay your salary. They said they pay your salary, so you should shut up.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be funny.
Yes.
All right, sorry for sidetracking us there.
All right, let's read. Ted says, I think you should mention Sour Patch Sidekick in your promos. She's a third of the show, or at least a quarter. Also, did Reza act like he enjoyed his TV dinner, asking for a friend?
Disgusting.
Yes. Well, yes. We need to get the camera and the thing for
Sour
for
Patch
Lydia.
Sidekick. I love it.
Sour Patch Sidekick.
Yeah, man.
It's got a good ring to it.
Yeah, I like it.
And Chris says, I'm from a third world country. I've been to the US and the EU and the UK. Just the amount of freedom the US has makes it the best country in the world. Europe is China light. Maybe the UK can go back. Sad. Will says, accept my offering, soy Jesus. And there's some money, $23.12.
I will accept this.
Interesting.
Harry Batinsky says, hello to Tim and Adam, and hail the hidden hottie. I never fantasize about the apocalypse. Visiting the Philippines to do charity work was hellish, though. I hope the country is opening.
Well, thanks for doing
Aqua
that.
says, keep it going, guys. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Student of History says, China gonna ban multiplayer video games. Hope Blizzard feels happy about cucking out for them. Yep. Zeinmart says, entitled college kids wouldn't be so spoiled if they had to earn their way like the rest of us. And government-funded school loans, problem solved. I'm a truck driver earning $85K per year, truck paid for. And these kids
Nice.
went to college and are in debt and complaining.
Yeah. He's doing good. Congrats.
Core Sonic says, if you guys have not played Tales of Berseria, it's all about a man taking away everyone's rights and being human and making them slaves. This could be us soon. Yikes.
Scary.
J Max says, Adam, which Final Fantasy VII character do you think they did the best with? Which one do you find lacking, if any? I really love everything Barrett and Aerith. Everything Barrett and Aerith is a strong second for me. Jesse gets an honorable mention. I thought Rude was too talkative compared to the original.
That's a good point. He didn't say anything really in the first one. I'm really bummed that you can't use Red 13 as a character. I really love Tifa now. She is so much more BA than I can't swear, but I want to. The first game, I didn't use her ever because her limit break was risky and it wasn't a sure thing. So I always ended up using Sid, Barrett, and Cloud because their limit breaks were just simply the best. And this game gives you a really good way of figuring out what each character is really good. I love them all. Even Aerith I never used because I knew something in the future was going to happen. I don't really want to... I mean, the game's 23 years old, but it doesn't matter. I just, it felt like a waste, but I was using her, and she is really strong. And Biggs and Wedge and Jesse, I like that you got to see that whole side of the Avalanche team that you didn't before, so that was really cool. So, but thanks for the
Cool.
shout out.
Kami says, you seriously need to watch Serial Experiments Lane. It will change your perception of reality. Cool. Logan Dekari says, got my stimulus money and 3 weeks of unemployment all in one day, so shut up and take my money. Plus, my work is talking about going back to regular hours next week. Love you. Aunt, keep it up. Cool, man. I hope everything kicks back into high gear and people get their jobs back.
Me too.
Man.
Sam says, best thing about the Chinese online gaming ban, the script kiddie hackers will suffer. Also, a discussion on Strauss how generational theory would make a good podcast topic nowadays. That is a good idea. Strauss-Howe generational theory is basically strong men make good times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It goes on how like we're actually supposed to be on the cusp of a civil war or a complete and total breakdown of some sort.
Yep.
Because it's like
feels like
every
it,
80
doesn't it?
years, something like that.
Yeah,
we'll
it
see.
Feels like it for sure. We're there.
Connor says, start wiping sitting. Final one is done standing as a safety. All right. Reiterating, Nerdette's newsstand has great coverage of Amber and Johnny. She has a playlist of videos she's done on it. Cool. The Grizzly says, hey, man, I just wanted to ask you if you are going to do any more conspiracy stuff after this outbreak and nonsense is hopefully over. My question is to all three of you, what's your favorite conspiracy theory and why is that?
Oof.
I don't know, probably lizard people in the center of the earth. Just 'cause, well, no. My favorite conspiracy theory is that human life and all life originated on Venus and that a runaway greenhouse effect was destroying the planet. So the military created the Ark to escape the planet with the DNA of 2 of each animal and then seed Earth. And that we're actually living in a post-apocalyptic new world, but we originally came from Venus. I love that. It'll be a great movie.
I'm not really into conspiracy theories that much because I'm so logic-based that I tend to really dig into science and stuff that I don't care to delve into conspiracies when I can delve into like actual scientific proof of things. But we did come across someone tweeted at me the expanding Earth conspiracy.
Oh yeah,
and it's kind of cool. It seems a little silly, but at the same time, it's kind of cool.
Listen, I looked it up. Expanding Earth was the old theory before tectonic plates.
It was
before
how they knew about it.
Right, they were trying to explain how the
why
continents
it moved.
That makes sense.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because expanding Earth doesn't explain the water volume.
Right, I know.
But somebody
cool,
mentions
though.
right here, it's interesting, saying NLF. I think it says NLF. The House and Senate disagree on the time of adjournment. The Constitution says the president may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. Okay. Someone says Article 2, Section 3. Is that it?
Okay.
Yeah, so technically this is constitutional.
Well, is it or isn't it?
If it is constitutional, I got no problem.
It's just never been done before, is everyone's issue with it.
Well, I mean, we are in the middle of a
These
pandemic.
are interesting
It's
times.
because the House is Democrat, the Senate is Republican.
Right.
And
so they're not on the same terms.
Probably something like that.
Okay.
Fit.
Motto says South Dakotan Governor Noem isn't just hip to constitutional rights. She's also hot AF cattle rancher. Massive devaluation of our currency labor. Will manufacturing return? Poorer but more sovereign. Matthew says, since the Senate is not meeting until the 4th of May, but they are still in session, Trump is threatening to end the session and do recess appointments. Chris says, Tim and 2. DY for all of your feeds and news. Greatly appreciate it for the last 6 months. And get me prepped in December. By the way, I'm retired Navy and banded my head earlier on the carrier articles. Want help? We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, send a
some
message.
information at
tweet
me.
it. Yeah, tweet it to Adam. That's his username.
There's my Twitter.
There it is.
Send it over to me. I'll check it out.
Chris says, please cover this tragedy going on in CA. I'm affected by this as well. Look up the petition to waive EDD false statement penalty weeks during COVID-19 for claimants in good standing. We'll check it out. DK Samaritan says, there's a link. Here's a link to executive orders and powers. Oh, interesting. Agent Toon says Trump is frustrated at obstruction. The current practice of leaving town while conducting phony pro forma sessions is a dereliction of duty and that the American people cannot afford during the crisis. Well, there you go. We didn't get a chance to look into it, but looks like we're getting the explanation. Theodore McCarthy says the complaints about Trump's attitude are just elitist bigotry. It's snooty people who can't stand the president talks like a bricklayer from Queens.
Well, yes, he does.
That I agree with.
Yep.
That for sure.
Yep.
He's blunt.
That's why I never really cared. I grew up around all this stuff in Chicago.
Yeah, same
I'm like,
here.
what is this? Like, I get
I'm
it.
pretty blunt.
Yeah.
I'm come off as brash sometimes, but I mean, it's who I am.
Israel says, it's crazy. I was at Walmart. It felt like Black Friday. Lines of people with 55-inch, 65-inch TVs. The future isn't secure. Is a TV that important? Will they be the ones not paying rent? Maybe it was all the Trump bucks. People are like, I got money.
Yeah.
I got money.
Not wise.
Just go spend it on a TV.
Easy E says, we call it the Wuhan virus over here in Michigan. Gosh. Sebastian, thanks for the super chat. Trumpel-Stiltskin says, don't let the Wu flu get you. Will not. Wolfalt says, what happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when it is no longer trustworthy? Fact becomes fiction. Fiction fact, when does news become propaganda? Danger to the republic. Where are we? We just got a big old super chat jump. I love when that happens. And there we go. Carlos says, Winnie the Pooh did Tiananmen Square. All right. Flying Squirrel says, Trump does all the things rational people yell at their TVs. He shows the press when they lie, and he beats on Congress when they hold up progress of normal government duties. You three do an awesome job, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kurt, thanks for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Equislul says, Tim, you're what a true liberal should represent and what the media should be. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Agreed.
Zachary says, philosophical conundrum. We try to extend human life as much as possible through advances in medicine, but if we unlock the key to immortality, would it be moral to make it accessible to the public? Oh, that is a great topic of conversation. You want to write that down? We should talk about like immortality and stuff like
Altered Carbon.
Yes.
Altered Carbon.
Yeah. Then I have to watch it.
I don't know
haven't
you
seen
guys.
it?
No,
Oh, you got it.
I know
It's
I
so
will.
good.
I have to.
I don't know you guys says conspiracy thought. Maybe the corona was a honeypot meant for Winnie the Pooh gone wrong. Love the matching color scheme. Thanks, YouTube. Mr. Scratch says, hey, Tim, Australian here. Only 15 cases of COVID in my hometown right now. In my town right now. However, it looks like a ghost town. Wish my family would take it slightly more seriously. They think I'm crazy for stocking up on some extra food. Because the panic is what gets you.
Yep.
Lehman and Robs, thanks for becoming members.
Thank you both.
Shadow Fox says, it's not military service if government service, you so long as you serve the state for 2 years, basically some more or less a federal job. Oh, so that's the Starship Troopers thing. It could be a government job of some sort.
Right. Okay.
Christian says, Tim, you have mentioned several times you aren't anti-Second Amendment, just left of center, and you don't know much about guns. Would you do a segment with a gun guy to discuss gun rights, or maybe go to a range? 100%.
Yeah, I was wanting
Absolutely.
to get Colion Noir.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I may have mentioned something to him and him to me before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
But then
offered to
the
teach you.
lockdown happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, that would be awesome.
We got to make that
So
happen.
just to let everybody know, we got a bigger space just to have guests and let me be on the show with the guests, because before I would not be on the show and the guests would sit here and
There
because
was
there was
no
only
room.
enough room. But
Yeah.
now we actually have this positioning, this
All
guest
this room.
space for a guest. So
And then
once this all blows over, we're definitely going to bring some guests in.
Or
and
if
it's
it-
going to be cool.
Or if it doesn't blow over, we'll be gone in a van,
Yeah,
hiding in the mountains.
it'll be great.
There you go.
Won't
This
matter
is-
either way.
Right now, this is for social distancing.
Yeah.
Technically, it's for guests.
Right.
John Carroll says mandatory boot camp or service is foolish. None of the guys I went to boot camp with became better people just because they went through training. They were that way to begin with. You can't change who someone is in 13 weeks. That's it. It's a good point.
Good point.
JP Millen says, greeting to the holy trinity of new media. Adam, have you ever heard of the book series, The Stormlight Archive?
Oh, I've read it, and it's amazing. I wish we could just have all of it out, but thus is my finding a good book series that isn't finished. But what are you gonna do?
We have now come to the very last segment of the day. We'll go a little bit longer today.
Yeah.
This is nuts. Chinese retailers ban popular Nintendo game Animal Crossing New Horizons after players use it to organize virtual protests against Xi Jinping and the World Health Organization. There were some other stories too where it claimed that it was like, what were they calling it? Like an absent of authority or something?
Yeah.
Oh, a vacuum of authority.
A vacuum of authority.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
What?
I don't know if this has something to do with what was going on in Minecraft. Remember that story? It was like these journalists created an archive within Minecraft people could
Yeah.
access in the virtual world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But now apparently they're going to start banning games. Now here's my theory. I think this could be a precursor to a major international conflict. If they're banning, it's like MMOs or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the gist of the story was? Because this is talking about Animal Crossing and retailers.
Yeah, there's another article.
Yeah, Animal Crossing
Well-
got banned.
Well, they go into talk about how it's pretty much any public multiplayer game where people can talk that they can't censor or observe. So the main thing is Animal Crossing because it just came out, so it's like a huge new game that's multiplayer. So now they're able to, like, you could see this article right here. It says right over his head, "Free Hong Kong." So it's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like Free Hong Kong Revolution now. So that's like the world that he named his world that. So
And everyone
anyone
can
that
see
goes
it.
into his world is like, and they see that like, oh, okay, I could go into that world because I think that too. Let's go in there and chat. So I don't think it's international. I think it's China trying to shut down any sort of like a coup from
Well-
like a civil war from their own citizens finally going, we've had enough. Because I'm seeing these videos emerge from China.
But this guy's not from China, is he? He's in Hong Kong. Here, let me read this. They say,
Right.
no official reason for the removal was given, but activist Joshua Wong of the Hong Kong youth movement, Demo Sisto, said the decision was caused by protest activities he and others had conducted in the game. He said, oh no, Xi Jinping banned Animal Crossing in China, apparently because I play it, and these angry gamers are blame me everywhere instead of blaming their own government. According to a report from Ping West, from Ping West, public chat groups dedicated to the game on WeChat had also adopted new rules to prevent discussion of the ban and were removing any members who tried to bring it up. The game is set on a small cartoon island and asks players to help a quirky cast of anthropomorphic animal residents with errands and chores while gradually raising money and collecting items to build out their home. Well, I think most of us, that's the gist of Animal Crossing. It is a foofy, fun family game.
Yeah.
But this is what I think. I disagree with you, Adam. It sounds like he's saying, this activist is saying that the Chinese people don't like him. They're not blaming the government for it. They're blaming him for it. What worries me about this is that through online gaming, you have communication with people in a foreign country. So you have like that archive in Minecraft. If they start banning online games because of things people are saying outside of China,
Right.
then they're segmenting their population from communicating with the rest of the world. There's already the Great Chinese Firewall. They've already tried doing this. Russia has apparently tried doing this. What ends up happening, in my opinion, is if you have the government saying the United States government did this, and then someone goes online and they speak with an American who says, well, here's what we heard, then there's doubt.
Right.
You can't rally your public to support your cause if they're getting information from the other side.
Well, but in that same sense, they can't convince their public that it's America's fault. If they're mad at the CCP, like Chinese citizens are mad at the CCP and they're blaming them, and the CCP is like, no, it's America. Like, we're just trying to stop you from, believing what you're saying it's us, but it's not. It's America. And then they're doing exactly that. They're going in these forums and going, oh yeah, but these American friends of mine are like, that's not what's going on.
But they're
over
banning
here.
the forums. They're blocking people.
Right, to make sure that their citizens think what they're telling them. So
Right.
it could go either way, honestly. Both things could be true, but it feels like they're just trying this as a tactic for control. They're just trying to maintain the narrative. They want their citizens to get everything from them and take anything that they could get outside source information and take it away.
I'll tell you this. We've seen the video of the people rioting at the Wuhan border. Mm-hmm. You remember that thing, right?
Yeah.
So if those aren't familiar, they like flipped over a squad car, like a
Yep.
van or something.
And the
Dude.
Wuhan police were with them.
Yeah.
Fighting the outside forces.
This is why I don't like the idea of the Biolab conspiracy theory the bioweapon conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
Because
agree with that.
this
either.
might destabilize China.
I think it will. I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what's happening. They're losing control, and they're communists, so they have to have the control, or else it doesn't
Yup.
work.
Absolutely.
So if their citizens are, if it's bubbling up, I feel it is, because we've seen these videos. We've seen people in China fighting like the police state.
And what you got to realize, when we see videos in the U.S. of people smashing cop cars and setting fires,
Yeah.
like, dude, we're a country based on protest and unruliness.
It's true.
We literally told the king to go shove it. Mm-hmm. And then we were like, it's our country now. So
Basically,
we protest is what we do. Like, I'm not saying it's good when people riot and stuff. I'm just saying, come on, man, Americans, we riot for everything. Football game, we won, riot. Did we lose? Riot.
Also riot.
In
Hockey
China, they
game.
don't. In China, you put the wrong post on the internet and they torture you.
Yeah.
Like that, we've seen that video of the guy being tortured by the cops, and they're like, "Why did you make fun of us?" So the risk for the Chinese to protest seems. I'm not an expert on China, okay? I know there's a lot of pro-China people who like to rag on me, assuming that I think I am. I'm not, but I've seen videos of people, like some woman put a camera in her room. She turned her phone on, and then police come in and like take her away, and she filmed it. Like, you say the wrong thing, they come for you. So imagine what these people must have been thinking when they started flipping over a police vehicle. They didn't care anymore.
Yep.
They were like, nothing you could do to me is worse than what's already happening.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I think that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Take away someone's video game.
That's the final straw.
Dude,
Yeah,
listen.
man.
That's why
Absolutely.
wasn't Trump talking about football? And he
Yeah.
was
He's
like,
we all miss sports.
but he was saying something about like, you can't take away someone's football. Like, it's got to start up. We're talking with the sports companies.
Yeah,
People-
all of them. He's
you know-
bringing all of the experts, or not experts, the owners, basically.
Look at the Roman Colosseum. At least the way it's portrayed in like, fictional narratives or whatever, that it was basically a distraction for the people.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny. They say like, oh, they had all these problems in Rome, but they would come out and they would throw bread to the audience, and they would watch these games, and it would keep them satiated. Mm-hmm. We got like 4 Colosseums in every major city.
Basically, yeah.
Now,
you're right.
now here's the thing. I always thought about this. I'm like, man, most of these people don't care about what's going on in the world because they care more about their hometown team versus, the other team, their rival. What happens when the sport stops?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people's team becomes political. Nah, the government is probably thinking we need people to watch football. Man.
I definitely think that. Definitely. Because they probably are looking at China going, whoa, man.
Well, hold on. Check it
They're
out.
revolting over there.
Yeah.
Right now, because sports has been frozen, esports is taking center stage.
That's a good
Because
point.
people can still play games online.
That's true.
China has
That's
just
what I'm doing.
is now banning some of these video games.
Right.
So I'll tell you what, man.
What are you going to do now?
You can keep your population, in the corner in the dark, just like not paying attention because they're staring at the screen, pressing buttons, and harvesting little digital flowers. Take that away from them. They're gonna look up and ask what just happened and why.
Yep.
This is the stupidest thing they could have done. It's like you've given people. It's almost like you give a dog a treat,
Yeah.
and then you try and take it back. He growls at you.
Yeah.
Like he didn't care about it before, but now that he's got it. You don't take it away from him. So in that regard, not only are they distracted, but you've given them something that's appeased them. They've grown addicted to it. You take that away. They're not going to protest because of your authoritarian abuses. They're going to protest because you took away their video game. Like you've created a reason for a revolution.
Yep.
Nah, I mean, I'm not going to.
I mean, the reason was there.
Right.
But now
No,
it's like.
I'm saying it's a different reason.
No. It's just the final straw. You put it up there and it finally breaks the camel's back.
Well, no. It's. I mean, I see what you're saying, but the point I'm trying to make is, if they never had the games in the first place, they'd be doing something else.
Okay.
But when you give them this game,
Yeah, it just came out
and
like
then,
last week.
and now they're all like, "Oh, this is so fun!" And now take it away from them. Now they know how good it was, and they're mad they lost it.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
not only do they have the reason to protest or revolt because of like the border closures, the continued suspension of business and everything, now you've taken away what little reprieve they had in the first place. So I don't know. Look, I mean, whether or not it translates to internal conflict, I think there's a good argument because people like their, novelties. But my bigger concern is with the actions we've seen from the Chinese government, could this contribute to a separation between the Chinese people and people outside of China, which then creates an obedient and, angry population which rallies behind their government. And then when the government says, oh, we banned this because the Americans are putting propaganda and disinformation, a lot of people are going to believe it.
Yeah, I guess.
Then what happens right now if China comes out and says the U.S. just sank our carrier? Like, imagine if they faked it.
Like
And
that carrier they brought out to the ocean. It's like, everybody is seeing it go out there, and then they're like, oh, America sunk it. That would be insane.
So these things have happened, false flags, like the Gulf of Tonkin incident. What if China did that? Their people would not know.
They
and so
wouldn't.
they would
That's
all
true.
panic and be like, oh, no, we're being attacked by the Americans. Oh, no.
I guess
And
we'll go
that's-
to war then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because a lot of the conspiracy theories we hear about false flags are typically the U.S. citizens talking about the U.S. government. So I think, I don't know the full details of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. It got us pulled into the Vietnam War.
Right.
But
okay.
it was apparently like fake. They said like a U.S. ship was attacked, never was, or something like that. I don't know the full details. You can look it up. But it's funny because we never talk about other governments doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm concerned when they start cutting off communication, which China's been doing for a long time.
Yep.
It creates the opportunity for them to lie to their people and rally them to, basically support militaristic actions against other countries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you find it?
Yeah. Apparently, it was kind of a false flag. They found something they called Tonkin ghosts, which were false radar images. They were not actually North Vietnamese torpedo boats.
Well, they claimed the ship got hit.
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't.
Huh.
Yeah. So one of the aircraft was damaged. One real and one falsely claimed confrontation between ships of North Vietnam and the U.S. Yeah,
Look,
so-
so much goes on at top secret levels. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But could you imagine living in a country where they took away your video games or
Nope.
the internet?
Definitely not.
No way.
Keep your people.
I would riot.
You
Yeah,
keep
man.
your people fat and happy, man.
I love games. I've always been a gamer. So
They're pushing hard,
that
and people are already riled up.
piss me
So
off.
I guess we'll see how this I don't know, pans out.
yeah, I guess so.
Word. Let's grab the last few super chats here. If you haven't already, hitting the like button really does help the channel. Sharing the
Yes, it
podcast, sharing really helps. Look, if you go to youtube.com right now, there's a section called COVID, and it's going to be mainstream media. The likelihood you will get up-to-date, rational information is relatively low. And I mean it. Because what we do is not only do we do look at mainstream media reporting, but we actually kind of break it down and go through it. I didn't just pull up the Fox News story and say, look at that. I pulled up the AP. I pulled up tweets for reference. I pulled up other stories, the Washington Post, and I try to break down and fact check what these organizations are doing to get ahead of the curve. YouTube deranks us, and they give the front page to the channels that are 2 weeks, 2 months behind the story.
Yep.
Nothing we can do about it. But I'll tell you what.
But you can do it by
There's
sharing it.
Nothing more powerful. No algorithm could stop people sharing. So they can try and suppress this channel and these videos, which they've done. But if you choose to share it because you like it, then we get way more play than CNN ever will. Of course.
You guys rock.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
But also make sure to follow us. And if you follow Adam, at Adam Krigler, you can send him story ideas. And then, we actually fairly often use the stuff
That's
that you guys
true.
submit.
You guys are great. You give me all sorts of stuff, and pretty much every other show we're doing something that you've given me. So really appreciate you guys out there.
And you can follow me at Timcast on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see fun videos, because I usually just post like little silly skate stuff we have. But we
will start making skate videos soon. By the way, we're getting warmed up. Leveling up nonstop.
Adam got a bunch of pretty good tricks. It's like fakey, body varial, blunt, rock, like revert was smooth. It was a good trick. One of the best tricks we've done on the mini ramp so far. We got a lot to come.
I'm loving the mini ramp.
All right, let's. I'm trying to figure out where we are at. Here we go. Based Okie says, "Don't skip over my Liz Crokin question, please." All right, I apologize for missing your question. I will tell you, the more people we get, the harder it is to read everyone's questions. And I gotta admit, like even now, we do like an hour of Q&A.
I know,
and it's getting harder and harder because more and more people are posting.
But it's great. We had some serious good conversation though from the super chats, so we really do appreciate you guys.
Yeah, but it does slow us down.
Well, it's not about slowing us down. It's just like we want to read as many as we can.
Yeah,
but we are doing a 2-hour show. So
right.
I mean, we're already over right now, but it's cool. We gotta do it.
But here's the thing: when we end up with like 15,000 people watching, more super chats are coming in than we can read, and over time, it just would never stop. So it's like at a certain point, we've got to move.
Yeah.
So I apologize, Based, for not getting your question in, but I will say, if we don't, you can try and ask it again. I'm really sorry if we can't get to it. Lightspeed says, if Tim Pool was president, he would interrupt meetings to read super chats. Probably. Dude, I would be so disruptive in every meeting.
His tiny gavel.
I'd have a gavel. I'd be in like a Senate meeting and they'd be like, I'd be like, no. I would be worse than Ron Paul. I would be Mr. No times 10. I'd be like, no. No. No, that's not true. I'd probably be like, I don't know. I have no idea. It's complicated. All right, here we go. Marcus Aurelius says, hey guys, if you want to learn more about China, go find a channel called China Uncensored. They do good work. I've heard good things. Buck says, second, the recommendation for Serial Experiments Lane. It's a Videodrome, the anime, but it's in a good way, and a must-see for fans of cerebral sci-fi and horror. Sounds good. Nosferatu says, I work for Tesla Energy in the Bay Area, and Elon's honestly been taking pretty good care of us, and work is still going. Cool.
That's good to hear.
Aaron Cowell says, wasn't some of the reason for the Trump bucks to make it easier for people to keep money flowing in the economy? Yes, it was.
Yep.
Sword, thanks for becoming a member.
Thank you.
Gustavo says, about immortality. Do you are prepared for an immortal Trump? Immortal Xi Jinping? Immortal Hillary Clinton? That's a great question. I am not.
No.
Austin says, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false, said the CIA director in 1981, supposedly. Wow. Tiller says, you and Kalian Noir on the range would be awesome to watch. No cuts, just raw footage. You and Kalian, yeah. I mean, I'm down when this is all over. Kermit Loves Bacon says, Timmy should get Madge from Black Guns Matter on. Oh, totally. I think I've met that guy, too. Stacy Ellis says, thanks for talking about what others are too afraid to. I mean, we don't talk about everything. Like, I can't say Voldemort's name. But I have a limit, right? If there's a story that's big and breaking, I will put that story out there. George says, have you guys watched Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans? I haven't.
Nope.
You guys? No? I'll look into it. Justin Force says, I've floated the idea of 2 years in any public sector job, including military. But your coworkers must verify that you went above the bare minimum of effort. Voting should be earned, but not impossible for the poor and disabled. That's a good point. Based Okie says, will you discuss Pizzagate with Liz Crokin? This is my third super chat tonight. Please don't skip me again. I just want a yes or no, please. I will say most likely no for one reason. I haven't been doing any guest segments with anybody at all. And it's like we actually had a bunch of people planned on doing shows with.
Yep.
And I'm not going to tell you who this was. I actually had a very, very massive collaboration planned that is now effectively canceled, and it's a huge bummer.
Yeah,
So-
I'm bummed because I know what it's about.
Yep, can't say.
Can't tell you, but I know.
But there was a really big thing planned. So I'm not doing, for the most part, anything with anybody. I don't know. Maybe things will change in the future. Roddy says, and look, people have asked about doing Skype stuff, and it's like we didn't set any of this stuff up for it. This was set up for in studio interviews.
Yeah.
I did the Skype thing with Crowder. It was actually hard.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know what the problem is. I should have been able to easily set it up considering the gear we have, but when I configured everything, it was not set up for Skype. And so it's giving me codec issues, and it interferes because we got like 5 cameras set up. We got all these microphones and everything.
Yeah.
It's probably if I started from the ground up planning for something like Skype, which I should have, but we have another machine we set up for different stuff that wouldn't work for this show. It's confusing. Roddy says, and if things go bad in China, the old nostalgic leader, Jiang Zemin, will come to the rescue and overflow things just to keep in power. Blaze says, America, don't let a good opportunity go to waste. This pandemic will be used against us and our liberties unless we use it. This jolt to the economy can be used. Sports, concert, work all paused. This is the moment. DK6 says, paying 1% of my stimulus forward. What skaters do you follow on Instagram? I follow some young skaters. They are incredible. I follow the big magazines.
Man, the young skaters are crazy.
Aurelian Gerard.
Yeah.
I don't even think that guy's real. I feel like I'm watching
unreal.
a video game or CGI. Those tricks are so insane.
I like Daewon's song.
Day One's amazing.
He's really fun and different. Yeah, who else? I mean, Naja's just so clean. Every single thing he posts.
They're all
is just-
robots.
They are.
That's it. They're all robots.
gotta be
They're
it.
doing these crazy tricks that are I just beyond me. I love skating and I won't ever stop, but
Yeah.
I won't be there.
Can't do
I'm not going to try those things.
Bofadis says, will the Chinese boogaloo be called the flu-galoo if they all have the sickness? Here's someone's name is Tim Pool versus Ben Shapiro 2024.
Yes.
Let's make this happen. Battle of the well-informed. I think for the most part we wouldn't disagree because Ben's very libertarian in a lot of issues, and so ultimately we disagree and be like, but we agree on the freedom of the person to, you know what I mean? Like,
Believe what they want.
I listened to both of them and I'm like, yeah, you guys agree on more things than you probably.
I think I think his conservatism comes a lot from his spirituality,
Yeah.
which I don't have. So we'd ultimately be like, I respect your right to believe and support your religion. He'd be like, okay,
That would be that.
that's great.
Yep.
It's libertarian.
Yeah.
Che says, Tim, did you know that while everyone is distracted by this pandemic, Congress is quietly trying to pass a bill that will effectively end end-to-end encryption? Look up Earn It Act. I have seen that. I really need to look it up. Would you mind?
I will make a note.
Make a note of
Yep.
it. East Shore says, I didn't get any pics of the National Guard clearing our facility, but they were great. Also, just check Twitter, and the Wuhan lab story isn't trending. Why am I not surprised? Yeah, it's crazy.
Not surprising.
It's what people prioritize. Wolf in Coyote says, hey, Tim, don't know if anyone else told you for yesterday's video, but amphibious assault ships are both mini carriers and troop transports with interior docks for transport hovercrafts and marine amphibious tanks, APCs. Cool. Let's see. Karambit says, Animal Crossing is the new Bodie McBoatface, the last straw that caused Brexit and will cause the revolution in China. Amazing. Wolfalt says, you guys watched the new Out of Shadows documentary. We have not.
No, but people keep talking about
Yeah,
it.
we'll take another note of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Patrick says, hey, Tim and company, here's a few more Trump bucks for you. Keep doing what you do. I have to say you are the only liberal journalist that I enjoy watching on a regular basis.
Nice.
But policy never is like a big issue about it. It's like if I said I like social programs, the media is lying. What does my policy position have to do with anything if I point out the media is lying? It's like, it's not an issue of liberal or conservative. It's an issue of honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what can you do if the media wants to make money, so they're willing to lie to get money? Blaze says, get some of my stimulus cash, bro. I got it. Thank you. Corey says, what do you think of Out of the Shadows on YouTube? I haven't seen it. Don't know what it is. Brian M says, check out YouTube guys named Neebs Gaming for animators. They are amazing guys and huge animators. Cool. Kami says, watch Serial Experiments Lane. It will change your world. Now I really want to. Cody says, have you played Apex Legends? I didn't. Did you? No?
They're all the same, it feels like.
Yeah.
All these
Overwatch.
Fortnite, Overwatch. I mean, I actually don't know that much about Apex Legends, but isn't it one of those free games that like
It's like
gets
a team
drops you
first
into-
person shooter.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, it's like
I grew up playing Counter-Strike, and that was fun, and I kind of got it out of my system, so that doesn't really do much for me anymore. I like Destiny 2 because you can choose to go into like the 6v6, multiplayer fighting, killing each other, or you can do the story mode all with your same character, and that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
John says Immortal Trump could only be president for 4 more years, and Immortal Putin, on the other hand, that's weird.
Yeah.
Based Oki says, weak answer, dude. We're not going to be in quarantine forever. Come on, it would get a lot of views at the very least. You know what, man? When people try to bother me because they want airtime on my platform, it's one of the most annoying things ever. I get inundated with emails from people saying like I should have to debate somebody, and it's like, dude, the amount of emails I get from people who think that I should do something with someone because they want their position out there, you have no idea. And I'm not trying to be mean. I apologize if it's a little bit disrespectful. I'm just like, I get 50 emails a week where they're like, why aren't you talking about, the electrical current that just struck in Alaska? You have no idea what's going on. I thought you're fake news. And I'm like, I get these emails all the time. I have one person emailing me saying that because I'm not talking about like this one new government program that I've never heard of. It's like, dude, I read the news. I talk about what I can talk about. I interview people. We had a guy on talking about school choice. We had a guy on talking about like traditional marriage and stuff. I've never talked to anybody about Pizzagate or QAnon or any of this stuff. So it's like, I don't understand why anyone would expect that I would actually have those guests on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can talk about China. It's in the news. Where are we at? Umi says, Tim, do you play Roblox? I do not. Phantom Boomer says, you and Colian and Taryn Butler's school would be freaking awesome. 68 retired in San Diego and bored out of my mind. Johnny Appleseed says, watch Out of Shadows. Million views per day. P.S. Are you riding with Biden? I am certainly not.
Nope.
Gareth says the Chinese people might seem docile, but they have always had a limit to what they endure and more individualistic than they let on. Waldo says 30M behind in the stream, but a good way to get people to take their vote seriously while encouraging people to grow up, in my opinion. Raise the voting age back to 25 unless you serve, then you can vote at 18. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Nerdy says ADV, China, Serpensa, and Lawai were the ones who supposed to be on here soon. No. Well, a lot of people have recommended stuff, but we're not doing guests or anything. So we'll see what happens in the future. But I think we're about ready to wrap up. We went a little over today, but it's cool.
Yeah.
So you can follow me at Timcast on Twitter and Instagram, but you can also follow at Adam Krigler and send him stories because he goes through them. We pick them up and we often use them.
Come hither.
Yes. So if you haven't already, and I know I've said it several times, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell, and share the video. That's the best way we can grow. And if you like us and think we do a good job, greatly appreciate it.
You can also find Sour Patch Lids.
Yeah, Sour Patch Lids on Twitter.
LYDS.
Yep.
Sour Patch LYDS.
And we're also on iTunes and like Spotify and a bunch of other Google.
So far we got those.
So if you want to listen to the shows, you can find it on your mobile apps. But
Thanks for coming, everyone.
I guess we'll leave it there and we'll see you all, what's today, Wednesday? Tomorrow
Yep.
Yes.
at 8 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
All right,
Adios,
bye, guys.
everybody.
Good night.